And you are watching another Blewett Blitz film review. He has that ability to, trust me, he definitely does. Just his ability to catch balls outside of his frame, his leaping ability, his ability to hang in the air, his yak ability, it's all there. Lowers his helmet, low man wins, bang, rocks a guy.
Hall running free, Brees Hall inside the 10, he's gonna score!
The corners all do their job. You know, if you look at the picture right here, lock.
3rd and 1. Stevens always drilled. What a great defensive play.
I don't try to Monday morning quarterback any of the reviews I do, and I'll try to be honest with a lot of the things I put up. And you are watching / listening to another edition of Blewett Blitz. Kyle, my friend, how are you? Football is back. The summer we're about like through the halfway point of summer. So to me, just fast forward it. Just get to October. Just get to the fall. Just get to football season. But we're getting there.
Well,
and now training camp.
Start with September.
So it's too close. It's too close to the summer. Give me to October. Crisp, fresh air, 60 degrees. You could wear shorts or you could wear a sweatshirt. Good Oktoberfest beer. Jets winning football. Haven't seen it in forever, so I'm really excited to get this on the roll. And obviously, training camp kicking off 2 days ago. We're in the first start of that process.
Yeah, well, I'm doing pretty good, and yeah, the fall, I agree with you, is my favorite time of the year, but it's also nice to have the summer. And hey, we're back to football. You know, it's actually here. All the BS speculation crap is over with, so. Definitely excited about that. And very excited for the topics that we have tonight. So very much looking forward to that. Damn, there was something else that was on my mind, but I forgot what I was going to say. So anyway, Joe, we can move on with
Kyle's off to a very, very, very hot start, as you can see today, which, by the way, Quinnen Williams jersey, which was gifted to me by one of the listeners a while ago, Joe. I forget his last name, but appreciate you, Joe. And just something funny too.
It looks a little big on you.
It is a little big, you know, but you want to have jerseys too big over too small, because there's gonna be plenty of games where it's January, January football for the Jets this year, and I got to wear like a hoodie or a jacket under it. So you got to make sure you can fit some layers under these bad boys. But nonetheless, like I said, a lot going on. And I was just thinking about one of the reviews I put up recently, which, by the way, a lot of reviews I think like 26 out of 31. One of the comments recently was like, "Did you play Power 5 football?" No. Okay, you know nothing. It's like, oh, okay. So Robert Saleh knows nothing about football.
Yeah,
yeah. But okay. Obviously not comparing one for one. But you know what I'm saying. It's just like, okay, I just whatever. But yeah, a lot to talk about. We have to talk about.
Hey, listen, Mike McDaniel, man. Look at that little shit, man. Did he ever play at a high level? Come on, no, he didn't. But
yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, we have Hard Knocks to talk about. We have Hopkins to talk about. We have jersey number changes. We have some updated camp thoughts, which don't buy too much into it. Obviously, we've been starving for football and seeing anything on the field in the last couple of months. So anything that happens is going to be the biggest news ever, when it's really not at this point. Really, like, I get it's exciting, but does anything really matter in July, Kyle? Like, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers throws a pick.
Yes, injuries matter.
This guy falls. Okay, yes. Obviously, that's the only thing with camp and all that stuff. I get the excitement, but I am with you. Number one priority is no injuries. Anything past that, I care. But do you really care? Like, if I was to tell you during the season, hey, on this Wednesday practice, Rodgers went 8 for 12. He did this and did that. Like in the regular season, you'd be like, who gives a fuck? Shut up, Joe. Like, why are you even talking to me about that right now? But because it's July and we're starving for football content, it's so much more important. So I don't want to talk about every single little thing that happened. This guy got a pass deflection practice day and all that stuff. But if there's any like very quotable things that we can talk about, or guys who are standing out, we'll mention it. But I'm not going to buy so much into that hype, because one, you can't.
Did we lose Joe? I think we lost him.
You got me?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well, it says we're live, Joe, but I don't think so while Joe is trying to get back, I will talk. What I was going to say before, when I forgot, is that he's back now. All right, let's see. Can you hear me, Joe? Oh, no, he's not back. What I was going to say is that the new intro, I like it. It was getting me hyped. We got Quinnen, just signed him to the new contract. There's a nice pass deflection at the end of the Broncos game. You see Sauce. Obviously, both those guys high rated in Madden, PFF top 30 players or whatever. And Jermaine Johnson's in there. And it's like, hey, listen, Quinnen hyped him up. And hopefully we're expecting big things from him, although I'm a little skeptical with that. Talk, Joe.
You should be able to hear me now.
I can hear you now.
I was telling you about the notes on my phone because it didn't transfer to my computer. So I got like little notes for just like topics we got to hit on so I don't forget anything. My phone slipped from my computer and hit the escape button. Exited me out. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Precise aim.
So I'm not sure what exactly I was even talking about or what you're talking about. I would just say not to buy so much into the camp hype or anything like that. Now, obviously I missed the show last week, so I apologize for that. And plenty of news the time we file. And I'm going to hit it kind of in chronological order just because that's kind of how I noted it down. But one of the first things that's happened in the last couple of weeks, the official announcement, Hard Knocks, general thoughts on the topic, distraction, do you want it, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, we kind of addressed this 2 weeks ago, and it's like, nobody wants it. I'm sure there are some Jets fans that want it just because they want their team to have the recognition. They kind of want to see more behind the scenes stuff. But I think if you want genuine distraction, drama-free football, you probably don't want it, which I think that most fans who want to win don't want that. And listen, I don't think there's ever been a team that has won the Super Bowl that has been on Hard Knocks.
Well, because of the descriptor, like you need to fit certain criteria.
But there've been good teams. Listen, the Jets, the last good Jets team we saw was on Hard Knocks. And let's also think about this for a reason. This whole Netflix quarterback thing that I haven't watched, and I don't know that you've watched it. It's like featuring Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Mariota, I believe, is the other person. It's very popular. Apparently, my mom even watched it, and she's like telling me about it. Weren't they following Patrick Mahomes with cameras all season? And he just won a Super Bowl. So it's like, on the one hand, like I think the whole it's a distraction thing is definitely a little bit overblown.
Yeah.
And I don't think it means you can't be successful, but I mean, who would want all those extra cameras and and stuff in their building? And it is a distraction. And nevertheless, I mean, like if you're a coach or you're a player, if you're Robert Saleh, how many extra hours a week do you have to spend doing interviews or something like that with the people? And it's like, that's an extra hour that you could either be spending with your family, resting, or, prepping for stuff related to football. So, I mean, like,
one of his 7 children, I believe it is, or something.
Yeah, he does have a lot. Arabs, Muslim people, they like to have a lot of kids typically. Anyway, what I was saying, Joe, when you stepped out is the only thing, my only thing that I don't like about the new intro is there's a clip where you see Coach Saleh, flexing and getting all hyped on the sideline, and you see Denzel Mims in the shot. And it's like, I'd really, we're talking about all this new influx of talent that we have on the team and all these reasons to be hopeful. And then there's a shot of Mims.
So should I should send it back to the video guy and be like, listen, really good intro. Just that one clip, and Mims is a little bit in the background. Can you just get rid of that one? I'm going to get shot. But yeah, like the cameras aren't going to affect like the actual on the field play, but I just think it's an annoyance. That's really all it is. I don't think it's actually going to affect them, but they get you have to dedicate the time to do the interviews, like you said, and they also get access to some spots where maybe they don't want cameras. Like, do you really want cameras to be in your wide receiver meeting room when you're talking about how to run certain routes and things like that? Like, I'm not saying that Hard Knocks is necessarily going to give that information away because they can't, and the Jets will tell them not to. But if you're trying to, build a chemistry, you got your 5 or 6 dudes in there, they're laughing, they're joking it up, are they going to act the same if there's a camera guy in there? Like and obviously it's a little bit different, but it's like you're hanging out with a couple of your buddies and it's like, oh, your mom comes over and it's like, fuck, you kind of ruined the vibe a little bit. Like, there's some of that to it, but like, I don't think it's really going to affect the on the field play. And to me, it's something that I want to watch with the Jets just because it gives you a bunch of access that we're not previously allowed to see. And obviously it's from a much more neutral standpoint than the Jets film crew stuff, how they do it. So I'm excited. I don't think it really matters so much, to be completely honest. I think the first episode is August
2nd
or something like that.
Yeah, something early August.
Do you think that the Jets specifically put their show release date on Mondays during the offseason and Hard Knocks is on Tuesdays? Did you catch that or no?
I didn't catch that, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, we're going to come out the
Yes.
day before Hard Knocks. So just make sure, you're going to get this week's stuff, our version of it first. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
understand it.
exactly. So other happenings in Kyle, obviously we have to get through a lot of news, and then we're going to stack and with this, do I wish I was a Dolphins expert, a Bills expert, a Patriots expert, and watched all their film and all that stuff so I could speak just as knowledgeably about them? For sure. But when I get to their third or fourth linebacker, am I going to know who the hell they are? Probably not. But we're going to do our absolute best to stack the Jets against the division. Kyle, I don't know if you're going to be able to keep score of who has the best groups or whatever.
Well, we were talking about some kind of system 2 weeks ago, and we definitely didn't come up with one. So
I think it's easiest. The lowest point wins. The lowest points win. The first group gets if you're the best receiver group, you get number one. The Pats are obviously going to be 4. You want the least points at the end of the day. I think that's
okay. But yeah, I know I understand that. But are we?
We're not valuable certain positions on certain things. There's no
okay.
way.
All right, then fine.
So past that, let me say hello to the chat for some of the people who are in here. Then we have to get into Revis stuff and Sauce stuff and so much shit that's been happening the last couple of weeks, which is great. Hello, Gangrene fans. Have your expectations changed for the Jets in the last few months for better or worse? I would say they're relatively the same, right, Kyle? Like nothing. I don't think anything on the roster has happened either in a largely negative or largely positive way. I think really since Rodgers landed, we might have expected a move here or there, but they've stayed pretty, level. So I'm not really, right? I don't think.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much right there with you that it's kind of pretty much the same. I mean, you start to see other people say, "Oh, the Jets, have a really good shot" and things like that, and you start, naturally listening to the hype a little bit, but then you tell yourself when you've been following the team for so long and you're kind of rational and you understand the game decently well that, let me not buy into the hype so well and let that cloud my judgment. So I think it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. So past that Tony Adams season, and obviously some things are just naturally come up, but he made a play today. I guess he got a good pass deflection, and Sabo was putting out, which by the way, for people who aren't following Sabo, the other owner of Jets X Factor, obviously go and follow him. I guess he paid for Twitter Blue, and he puts out 2,000 character tweets of every single thing he saw in practice. And the good thing about it is, for me, for Sabo, you can feel like he's not your cup of tea, which to some people, nobody's there. Obviously, I'm not people's cup of tea, so neither is Kyle, neither is Sabo, neither is Nani, or whatever. But for me personally, he is one of the very few guys who goes to camp who I believe actually know what they're watching. So when Sabo says something, I really, really believe it, because not to offend anybody, but what is Rich Cimini's, background in football, or Connor Hughes or whoever else?
Hey, Cimini's been covering the team for 35 years. You stop it.
Oh, you're gonna be one of those guys. I'm a 60-year-old Jets fan. I know everything. It's like, okay, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so, I don't know. What was I just saying, Kyle, before you said that? I don't even know.
You were talking about Sabo. You have a lot of respect for him. He's putting out these big 1,000-character tweets, and
go follow him.
You like it.
Go follow him. And he's been talking up Tony Adams for a little bit now. And it seems like,
and he says that the team loves him. The coaching staff loves him.
It seems like Amos is not going to play, or he's not playing in the box initially, at least from reports I've heard. But to me, it's Tony Adams should be the free safety. I really don't see the benefit of playing Amos over Tony Adams deep. Now, obviously, if you want to either start Amos out at free safety and then work Adams in eventually, I could see that happening. But I don't think there's any way that Amos, if he does start as the team starting free safety, he's going to hold that spot down for the season.
It's interesting sometimes when, as a fan, you obviously don't have nearly as much information about a player as the team does, but you as a fan, sometimes you hit, and I want to say you, I mean, Joe Blewett, I'm just meaning like sometimes as a fan, like you're like, yeah, that's not going to work. And this team is going about this all wrong.
Yeah.
And then sometimes like, for example, Huff is an example, like last year, it's like, why is he inactive? He really should be out there as like a third down rush specialist. And a ton of fans knew that and pointed that out. And the coaching staff was too stubborn. And eventually, a couple of weeks into the season, the coaching staff realized the error of their ways and realized how valuable he is on third downs. And I kind of think that this is a similar example. Like if that, the team is, planning on putting Amos and not having him in the box so much, I think you're going to start to see, some problems there. And it might not be until that gets exposed that the team says a couple weeks in the season, okay, yeah, we might want to start putting Adams out there more. I hope that's not the case, but I could see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know what you watch from Amos in his last couple of years, and even the bullshit. And I'm not trying to like shit on the guy, but his like bullshit 2020 year or 2019 year where his grades were really high. Again, I want to go back and watch those games and see why the grade was high. And victim of circumstance or the beneficiary of circumstance. I think he was much more the beneficiary over the victim of circumstance in some of those times. So I don't think he's great in coverage. And what I saw from Tony Adams, even though we're saying it's not a large sample size, and you said that you're not overly impressed with what you saw, I'll still take the shot on Tony Adams being better. Like Kyle, right now, $100 down. Who was the better coverage free safety, Adams versus Amos? If they all started, however many reps they're going to play, 700 snaps.
I would say Adams, and the only thing that gives me even a little pause with answering that is the fact that, when you saw him in limited reps last year, he blew a coverage or two. And it just could be a matter of, he just hasn't been out there enough, and the communication.
The one was a double
like
move.
That.
The one was a double move, so it's not like a miscommunication. It's just I think it's a little bit over.
You're talking about the one in Seattle?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and with more experience, but in terms of ability there, he definitely has the higher upside. I mean, Amos is what he is at this point in coverage, and it's not very good. But, he can bring some thump in the run game and things like that. So he's a valuable piece to have out there. But I don't think you want him playing major reps all the way back there.
Yeah, somebody mentioned, I don't know who it was, and even if maybe I wouldn't say it, but he was talking about Amos versus Adams on Twitter today or in the last couple of days and saying like Amos had like the best range of all the safeties of the Jets. I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Adams has better range. Or Adams does.
You could say he has better than Whitehead. I wouldn't argue there.
Maybe, yeah, I would say better than Whitehead, but Adams is definitely a better mover than Amos. That's for sure. Now Amos moves very well for his size, but Adams is he's definitely moves better. Now another thing with Amos, Kyle, I don't know if you saw the jersey number he's rocking, but did you see that by any chance? 0. Do you like
I saw the 0
choice? Or?
I mean, it's different, so I'm always interested in like something different and new, but. The 0 for me is just weird. I don't know. Is it a number? Isn't it a number?
I'm okay with it. I would hate the double zeros, but I'm okay with the 0. It's just my number's 31, and I was thinking that Amos is going to wear 31. So it's kind of like, really? It was Amos in 31. I'm not the biggest fan. Before him, it was Blitz Austin, who I was a very big fan of, but unfortunately he got traded or whatever. I remember when the Nets had a 31. For the old school Nets fans out there, it was Josh Boone. No, it wasn't Josh Boone. I think it was Josh Boone, and he sucked. He was so. I mean, he might have worked.
I mean, it must be something with the number because you suck too. So.
Oh my God! Yeah, you're right. You're right. Not yeah, you're right. I do suck. So yeah, the 0 thing. I'm okay with it. I want to be. No, that was actually it wasn't Denellen. Denellen just kicked ass, but it wasn't Denellen. It was a different fullback. But nonetheless,
you told me it was Denellen.
Denellen was the guy who his arm he massive dude. He was the guy who stiff armed me in the rib, and I thought all my ribs cracked. Like he had to have like this thick of forearms. It was ridiculous how bad, but nonetheless. Yeah, so with the 0 thing, I guess we can kind of transition into this too, and we'll get to the rest of the chat. But talking about jerseys, Kyle, did you see the potential jersey leak for the New York Jets?
Yeah, so it looks like it's like the white throwbacks, which makes me wonder if they will also rock the green throwbacks at some point. So pretty cool. And
I'm hoping they change to it eventually.
Huh?
I'm hoping they change to it eventually. Like, I'm hoping they change the whole jersey eventually, but I would really like to go back to it because I believe they can only wear those alternates 3 times. And I believe they're keeping the black helmet as well. So they're only going to be able to, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat, you guys probably know better than I do with this stuff. I think you can only wear alternate 3 times. And one of them is going to be, probably the Black Friday game with the black helmets for the Dolphins. So they're only able to wear it 2 times, I believe, with the old school. And to my understanding, it's not the old like Kelly green. It's the Jets' current green with the old logo and the Jets like swoosh thing with the what is it? It's a white face mask, right? White helmet or no green helmet, white face mask, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would like to see them completely move off of the jersey they have. I don't love the jerseys right now. Obviously, if people say if they win in them, we'll like them. I completely understand that, but I definitely like the old school throwbacks ones a lot more. It did leak. Now I know that like social media intern or whatever like deleted his Twitter.
I do think what we have now is better than what we had prior to this.
Okay, so I think what we have now is better to what we had prior to this, only after the switch from Reebok to Nike. If that makes sense, right? Because we're at Nike. Is it Nike now? Is it Nike?
Yeah, it's still Nike.
It used to be Reebok, and when the Jets had Reebok prior to what was I think the change was in like 2014 maybe, and then the green became a lot less green, and it was like a very faded, like gross looking green. So when they went to Nike, I hated the jerseys. They were Reebok. I loved the jerseys because they were very kind of classic jerseys. So I agree with that to a point. But I like the fact. I'm really hoping the intern did not get fired or whatever because it's just an honest mistake. But it's a pretty stupid mistake to make. It's interesting that CJ Uzomah is the one sporting the jerseys, but like it was that day where people were talking about, like, hey, we haven't seen Sauce at media day. We haven't seen Garrett Wilson. And then you see, number 87 rocking that jersey. And we're like, holy shit. So it seems like a 99.9% chance that we're going back to those jerseys. But with that being said, I think it's I like it. And I don't know who I'm going to buy. I think I have to buy a jersey. And my line of thinking, which this is my head thinking, is I'll say what else thinks. But my brain says get a throwback, get a Wayne Corbett, get a Klecko, get somebody who's going to last the test of time. But my heart is saying, Joe, be ballsy. Get a Garrett Wilson custom 5 jersey. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that, Kyle. But will you be purchasing a throwback, or what's your stance on purchasing that?
I didn't buy jerseys for so many years. I mean, for years, man. And then I bit the bullet a couple years ago, and I bought an Elijah Moore and a Zach Wilson, and those purchases are looking pretty horrendous right now. So, as much as I, have a lot more confidence in Garrett Wilson at this point than, because I've already seen a good season of production despite the fact that he had crappy quarterback play. I'm very hesitant.
Risk adverse.
Even Aaron Rodgers, part of me says, oh, we got Aaron Rodgers. It's one of the all-time greats, man. But what if he sucks here, man?
I have a really good connect, not a really good connect, but it's Vinny's brother, who you'll actually see on week 1, Kyle. But he has a really good site he uses for China websites, and I got it for $45. We were there and if you want Rodgers for $45, fuck it, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So I got one of those. 45 is really
reasonable. I mean, hopefully those China ones you're talking about are good, because I remember seeing this
terrible.
When we went to the draft. There was my brother was talking to some of the Bills fans, and there was this one guy wearing a Stevie Johnson jersey, and the NFL logo is all the way in the middle of the jersey. Some of those China ones are really bad, poor quality.
Dude, I got a Calvin Pryor one, and this is a while ago, obviously, but Calvin Pryor one when he was first drafted, and the Jets. I never
logo, liked that player.
The Jets logo. At that point, it was very not casual. I was obviously a diehard Jets fan, but very casual in terms of really looking into the players, especially prior to the draft, and. I saw hard-hitting safety. I was like, oh my God, I love this guy, because Brian Dawkins is my favorite player ever. So it kind of, hard-hitting safeties. I bought the jersey, and it came, and the stripe is a different color green. Jets patch is completely sideways and over by your chest. I was like, this is fucking terrible. But yeah, I'll show you the Rodgers one. Maybe I'll get it in a second. But it actually looks pretty good. But
I have an angled one that I gave to my dad. He wore it to the Ravens game when we tailgated with you last year, and I kind of like that one, but I mean, overall, it was cheap, but the Jets logo patch is so big compared to what the one is on the actual uniform. We got a super chat. Let's get to that because we need to
hold on
some time. All right,
but with Garrett, this is talking about it too. The only problem is if you're getting a Garrett Wilson jersey, he said he's probably going to change to 5 next year, right? Morstead is on the team. He has 5. If he plays really well this year, the Jets resign him. Does Garrett go to him like, no, we're like, sorry, I know you had 5 last year, but switch to something else? Like, why not just change this year? So that's my hesitancy. If he changed already, $45, who cares? I'll throw $45 for, a China Jets jersey. But I'm a little bit nervous. But for the super chat from AP14, I don't know if I'm having some internet problems. I apologize.
You're a little bit in and out.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to. I don't know how I'm gonna fix that now, but I'll try. If AP, what's up, boys? Garrett Wilson over under 11.25 yards, 0.5. I want to take a mortgage out of the over. Yeah, dude. So like Kyle, when we did our stat predictions, I think we were both around 1,500. I think it may have come in at like 13, just to be a little bit more conservative. I forget exactly what I said, but 1,100 yards. Yeah, I would slam that over for Garrett Wilson. He almost had that last year with Zach Wilson. Slam that over.
Knock on wood. It's just the only thing you really got to be concerned about is injuries. I think, dude, he had 1,100 last year. 1,103 last year, I think was the number. And, he didn't even play major reps in week 1. So
if you only played the first half in week 1, or he was targeted, Kyle, you saw the review I did of Garrett, or not even the review. Oh yeah, you did the review I did of Garrett Wilson. How many times was he open week 1 where he wasn't targeted? Like, he absolutely cooked Marlon Humphrey that game, like multiple times. So I would smash the over on that one, and we appreciate the super chat.
Yes, thanks, AP.
Let's keep going through the chat. We'll say hello again. I'm not sure why I'm cutting out a little bit.
I keep telling you to hardwire your connection, but you never listen to me.
You can come over and do it if you want.
It's a very one-sided friendship. Like, I listen to you about your opinions on players all the time. I watch your reviews. You can't even listen to me about an internet connection.
If you're a really good friend, you'd come over to do it for me. If you're going to start talking shit. Question: Aaron Rodgers rework contract. When are we expecting to hear from that? I don't want the Jets to be stuck with $100 million debt next year. Kyle, what are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and his lack?
I keep having the same thought, Eagle. And by the way, thanks, Eagle, for tagging me in some of the tweets. I'm sorry I didn't respond to some of them, but I've been wondering the same thing. So it seemed like that was going to get done a while ago, but it just seems like it's a very complicated contract, and I assume that they've been working on that on and off for the better part of a couple of months now. And it just seems like the only hang up is just figuring out some of the details. I assume that it's going to get done when it has to get done, and we won't have $100 million in debt next year. Mm-hmm. So whenever that happens, it happens, but I wouldn't be too worried about it, but I just hope it happens.
And there was some talk. I Salah said like they would be very surprised if he was only here for 1 year. I forget exactly what the quote was. It's at first the thinking. I was probably more like I would bank on 1 year, hoping for 2. Now I'm thinking 2. And if I had to guess, whether it be 1 or 3, I would say more 3. So I think he's gonna play 2 or 3 years before he plays 1 or 2 years. If you feel what I'm saying.
And didn't Rodgers have some comment that he said, like, if it's quote a magical season, it might only be 1?
You never know.
I'm thinking like, dude, Aaron, like, I know like you want to be like Strahan and retire when you're on top, like go out, like, listen, you went out when you were at your best. But at the same time, like if you win a Super Bowl and the roster is more or less the same, wouldn't you want another shot at that apple? Right? Like, come back and try to do back to back. I know so few teams are actually able to repeat, but I don't know. So
if he wins the Super Bowl for the Jets this year,
I can't be mad at him. If he retires after winning the Super Bowl, I can't be mad at him. But I would be disappointed. Those are two different things.
Do you think that he takes all of that $100 million? Like, let's say it is only 2 years. Do you think he reworks it to bonuses and it's, years down the line and all that stupid bullshit you can do with contracts? But do you think it's overall going to cost us like $50 million a year for Rodgers, or do you think he eats a little bit and says, okay, for, $35 million for the next 2 years or whatever?
I don't think he's going to give the Jets any discount. Why would he? He's never been a player that's really done that. I mean, most players don't do that. I mean, one of the reasons why Tom Brady had so much success in his career is he consistently took less. My buddy, Miguel Benzan on Twitter @PatsCap. He's a salary cap genius. And years ago, I had him on and we talked about contracts and stuff. And he has a long history on his website of patscap.com about Tom Brady's contract history, and Brady consistently took less and reworked his deal and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why, the Patriots were always able to sign, let's make a trade for somebody like Randy Moss or whatever. Or, let's play this season with Wes Welker on a franchise tag, a slot receiver on a franchise tag. But very few guys do that. And, I know that Brady wasn't always married to Giselle, and I know he's currently not married to Giselle. But one of the reasons why he was able to do that for, the latter part of his career in New England is she made even more money than him. So like he kind of was in a position to do it. But most players, you have such a short, limited window to make so much money and provide for future generations of your family. It just doesn't make sense to take less. But if you're someone like Brady who loves winning, maybe you could. But Aaron Rodgers, he never did that with Green Bay. Why would he do it with the Jets? I just don't see it.
With all of those perfectly reasonable things that Kyle said, I don't think he takes $50 million a year. I think he takes a little bit less. I'm not going to say it's like $20 million a year, but could he cut it to like 40? I think he does. I don't think he takes full 50. I think at a certain point, I don't know exactly when he signed that contract with the Packers, but I think at that point with the Packers, and obviously you want to make as much money as you can and all that stuff, but I don't think he was in the same place mentally with the Packers when he signed that contract as he was or as he is right now with the Jets in terms of talking about patience the other day with receivers and when they don't know something and all that, and kind of mentioning that he might have not had the same patience in the past. So
isn't that like giving a middle finger to the Packers fan base though? Like, hey, listen, I wouldn't take it. And even some of his former Packers players for that matter, who, maybe wanted an extra couple $1 million in their future contract, but they couldn't because Aaron Rodgers is taking such a huge portion of the cap. Isn't it kind of like giving a middle finger to those guys too, who he's supposedly brothers with?
I couldn't care any less.
You couldn't care less. I'm not saying you could care less. I'm just saying these are some reasons why he won't do what you're saying. As much as I want that to happen.
I have faith. We met up in an ayahuasca trip.
There's you. This is what you like saying. You like saying the expression rose-colored glasses. You like to say green-colored glasses. You have your green-colored glasses on right now in your green room.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit less, and I think he plays probably 2 years if I had to bet 2 or 3. But it's obviously exciting. So let's see. Rob says
this is we're talking about both you and I don't really know crap about contracts and all the specifics of how they work, but we're talking about we know a lot.
We suck. Rob thinks it's because basically the Jets wanting to hold off on that just in case anybody shakes off the waivers or anything like that. They'll have enough money to sign anybody off the waivers, shakes free or anything like that. Now, if it was a bigger move, let's say, they trade for Kevin Byard. Okay, then you might have to hold off.
That's
on
not happening because he just restructured his contract.
It was just a passing mention, Kyle. But yeah, something like that. And then okay, but signing some 53rd guy from the Bucks. Well, hopefully we're not signing from the Bucks. From the Eagles, then okay, we fit that. But football, what's up, Braden? What's up, Art? What's up, Snoopy? Joe is not a tech guy. I am not. I hope all the players no comment the hard knock. Yeah, it's do you though? Because then that would be really shitty content. I'm obviously not going to even put it up. I don't want that either. Verge says what's up? Canceled. Govern is 10% worse at guard. Lakin is 10% better than last year. Who would you guys start at left guard? Assuming McGovern is 10% worse and Lakin is 10% better. If McGovern is 10% worse than he was at guard, and Lakin's 10% better than he was last year, McGovern's the better player, right? In that instance, at least. Will it work out that way? Good.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm trying to understand the question correctly. So you're saying McGovern's level of play last year, decline it by 10% and increase Lakin's level of play by 10%. Who do you want? And they're going to be starting at guard. I'm almost the way I'm thinking about it is but I don't think that. I feel like it would be even a bigger decline for McGovern just because, he's in the older part of his career and he hasn't played guard in so many years. But if it is, then I guess McGovern would be better in that scenario because Lakin was that bad and McGovern was pretty solid. But I don't think that this scenario is totally realistic though.
No. But if we're taking this verbatim, McGovern being 10% worse at guard, okay, then he's a slightly below average guard. Lakin 10% better than last year. He was dreadful last year. 10% better than dreadful is not a below average starter, So
it's a good question.
In that instance, you would want to start McGovern, but is that going to happen just based on what you said? He hasn't played guard in 5-6 years. Lakin's going to be better than last year, and he's also making, and this shouldn't necessarily count, but it does, $17 million this year. He's not gonna pay $17 million on the bench. So Kyle, something else that came. Oh, we have the super chat from RJ MacPot. We appreciate that for sure. D line Iffy Odenigbo and Demara Crockett. Just there's a lot of names that are coming in. Like even we will talk about the Dane Cruikshank sign and all that stuff. A lot of these guys are camp bodies, not necessarily going to make the roster. Him, Alec Erickson, Iffy Odenigbo, and Crockett, I can almost guarantee you're not going to make the roster. You're signing a defensive lineman, Kyle, right now, unless it's like a legit player. Like there's still isn't like Puna Ford or whatever his name is out there still from the Seahawks. Like, there's some players still out there. If those were the sign, okay, it's a conversation.
I think it's the dude that used to be with the Broncos who was traded in that deal for Russell
Harris.
Wilson. Yeah, he's still out there.
Yeah. So like there are some players out there who I could see maybe like cracking the roster, but who does Iffy Odenigbo kick out of the D-line? Nobody. So it's not the biggest deal. But with that being said, RJ, I do genuinely appreciate you giving us a $2 super chat to keep us informed. But I've heard nothing about either. I don't know if this is the guy that we were talking about earlier on today, where like I think he played for the Bears and some other team, but he hasn't really made much of an impact. So Kyle, any thoughts on either one of these players?
Yeah, I saw the names earlier today, but prior to that, I couldn't tell you anything about either player. So the odds of them making the roster are extremely, extremely slim.
Yeah, exactly. But I definitely appreciate the super chat. We'll keep moving through.
Thanks, RJ.
And this is a good one. This is a good one from John Hepburn because I wanted to mention this, but something that Sabo said that Bawden was. I think it was Sabo. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but Bawden's being used often in like installs and stuff like that, Kyle. So when you're installing, you're obviously going to have like your starters out there. Or the players you plan on running that play with. So you have Bawden out there as a starting fullback in a lot of packages. We've been talking about this for how long? I don't think anybody else really brought Bawden. We're probably the only podcast to bring him up in terms of him making the roster.
I've seen a good amount of people in the chat bring him up.
Yeah, because they're smart, or maybe they listen to our friends, like Ryan's a friend and Buffalo's a friend. They're all friends. I've been on a lot of their stuff, but so Bawden's being used often. Thoughts on that? Do you I don't think it greatly affects the chance of making the roster for you in 2 days of practice, but do you think it's a good sign of him making the team in a month or two?
Well, I want to say I've been impressed by him, but I've seen so little of him in actual games. Yeah. So for me to say I've been impressed is like, can I really even say that?
In a limited sample size, you can say it, right?
Yeah, sure. I like the idea of having a fullback that you can use in a variety of ways. I'm sure everyone, if they could, afford it and stuff, would love to have Kyle Juszczyk on their team. But, how many guys out there have any, semblance of a skill set like that? And I'm not saying that Bawden can be that. And, this is an interesting comment. Like, dude, throw on Mike Allstott's highlights, man, and you're going to have a good time. Bawden seems like he's really jacked and stuff, but I don't assume that they would use him in a Mike Allstott type role. Mike Allstott, I don't know that he ever had 1,000 yards.
A little bit tongue in cheek here, Kyle.
Yeah, sure. But I think he's just thinking big fullback. He's going to be trucking people. I don't know that they would be giving Bawden the ball a lot. I think he would mostly just be used as a lead blocker in some formations, and then as a sifter in other formations, and as a guy who would occasionally go out for passes too. But I don't know how many times. Maybe on a goal line situation, they give him the ball here or there, but I think it would be quite rare versus someone like Allstott, he might get 100 carries in a given season. So and again, I know it's kind of being tongue in cheek, but even though I'm not at all comparing Juszczyk to Bawden, I think it would be more of a role like that as opposed to an Allstott role.
His over/under of carries he would get next year if he made the team would be like 7. Like he's not going to see the ball much, but no, I like the idea. It's just with that in terms of the roster construction, we'll do our 53 roster predictions. Just like, how do you fit him in there? Like it's only at that point, it'll be even harder to fit him just because of all the offensive linemen we have. You're carrying at least 3 tight ends. You're carrying 5 receivers, which are all both low numbers, but you're going to carry 10 or 11, offensive linemen on this team just based on the talent we have. And obviously what happened to them last year, they're going to want to be extra careful, but it'll be interesting. Art says y'all crushed last year the division comps. We appreciate that. Again,
thanks, Art.
Wasn't it last year we were doing like division comps? Art was like, "Oh, I love this show." We're like, "This sucks. I want to hear about the Dolphins." It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize." Good evening.
Yeah, and then people kept making fun of me about my math, and you included.
Yeah. Curly, what's up? Twitter Blue, Sabo was the man. Yeah, he's been doing really good stuff at practice. Like I said, he knows what he's looking at. I can't say that for everybody else. It is what it is. Blue clean shape looks like the professor from End One Street Ball. I don't know. He kind of looks.
Is that a basketball like video game?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He kind of looks.
What is that? Is that a basketball video game?
If I saw him in real life and said, "Does this guy use heroin or not use heroin?" I'd probably go with heroin. Like he just looks like one of those guys. I'm not saying this, but I don't know if I look like that. He has to be like 140, Kyle. He's like a very small guy, but I guess thank you. I guess I'm white and clean shaven. Jersey number 0 makes me think it's an ad for some fat free product. All right, Gangrene Goliath. Thanks for the work, Jet Up. Well, I appreciate that, Gangrene. Let's see. Nike does not make good jerseys in general. I love Reebok. They make great hockey jerseys too. Let's see. Lloyd Gross, what's up? The Jets, what's up to James? Rodgers is not getting money back. I don't think it's going to be 5. I don't think it's going to be 5. Joe Forever battling Wi-Fi refuses to run an Ethernet cable. Shakes head. I will. I will. It's just right now there's a lot of moving parts in my side of things. So I got to figure out some stuff. I gotta figure out some stuff. We'll say that it will be done. I promise it will be done. Mosley restructured last year. Some nose kills. He restructured last September. I understand you can only do that once a year. Could the Rodgers deal be on hold until that? You can only. Oh, you're talking about until Mosley restructures. It could be that. It could be. All right, cut out again. It could be that. It could be. I think Corey Davis is rumored to take a pay cut too. So it could be a few different things. I'm not panicking over it. So it doesn't really matter so much.
I'm asking a question. I don't know the answer to this. You can only restructure one player's contract per year, or
you can only restructure a player once a year. So you can. I can't do your contract twice in a year.
That same player. Okay, so what does Mosley's restructure have to do with Roger restructuring then?
Well, obviously, if Mosley cuts, let's say, $6 million of his salary, pushes it to next year or whatever, then that's $6 million more dollars they can give Rodgers this year. So maybe that's why they're waiting. I can see it.
I don't think that's why he was asking the question, though. It seemed like he was asking, like, does he have to wait until that calendar year is over before you can restructure Rodgers? That's how I understood it. I could be wrong.
I think No Skills is smarter than I'm giving No Skills some credit. I think it's more of seeing when they can, how they can move Moses' money around. But correct me if I'm wrong, No Skills. We have and this is kind of perfect with the chat. Rip Dalvin Cook backers, sorry to say, but he will not be Jet most likely. Now, with this being said, I do want to acknowledge that there was rumor that he was going to he tried to pay a girl like $1 million to try to back her off of domestic violence claims she made against him. But then I heard it was fake. So I don't know exactly what's happening with that Eagle, but a few people mentioned like, hey, that's not a real thing. So I'm not so sure in terms of his like domestic violence stuff. If it is true, I'm sure the Jets are not going to be overly interested in Cook. But Kyle, you seem to be relatively confused. I'm assuming you did hear.
Oh no, I just didn't hear about that. You just broke news to me. So
yeah, it said like the report was like he offered $800,000, he increased it to $1 million for her to back up off of charges. Again, how realistic is that? I don't know. And the whole Cook stuff gets a little bit annoying. Like every single thing he's tagged in, he just likes, and like he doesn't retweet it, but he just likes everything just to get people riled up. So everything with his name attached to it, you're going to get a like, and then you're like, oh my god, he liked my tweet, screenshot it, and then this means Cook's coming to the Jets. It's like, no, he just likes anything in his name because he's trying to drum up interest from other teams. So with Cook, Kyle, like where do you stand on it? Obviously, it's been a little bit since the rumors kind of started circulating about him maybe coming to the Jets. The Dolphins are in the division, but camp has already started for the Jets. You don't think now? Okay, so you don't want it to happen. Now, but with that being said, do you think it happens for the Jets?
No, I don't think it happens either. I think Michael had a really good article about the whole Cook thing and really went into a lot of the stats, fumbling issues, health issues, age issues, pass blocking issues. We're not getting young Dalvin Cook here. So I think I'll pass.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like it depends on the price. It really does. But with that, like I don't know if bringing on Cook is worth the money plus cutting one of the other guys, because I don't know if I'm ready to give up on Michael Carter. And based on some of the stuff we heard today, which I think in terms of the least valuable reports out of any position during camp that you're going to get, it's going to be running back, offensive line, defensive line. You pretty much can't listen to anything anybody says for those because it does not matter. It just does not matter. So with that being said, Michael Carter apparently had a pretty good day today and was the primary ball carrier for the Jets. Now, obviously, it's very early. He's been here. Zonovan Knight's only in his second year and didn't really play a lot. You have a rookie, so maybe that could be why he's seeing most of the first team reps right now. But I'm not necessarily ready to give up on him. I liked what I saw from Zonovan Knight in limited sample size. Sure, he is obviously not getting removed. So who are you getting rid of to bring in Cook? And if you are going to bring a running back, which, okay, I understand it. Like if Brees isn't ready to go and all that stuff, and apparently he hit 23 on the GPS today, which Kyle, as well as I do, that means pretty much nothing for an ACL. It just does not. Now, with all that being said, if they want to bring in like a Kareem Hunt, maybe I'll be more interested. But I'm not sure about Cook and the price and how much are we. And again, I brought this up last time, but I don't know. Do we have to pay him $7 million to Miami's $5 million to make it the same money he's walking away in his pocket? So I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is obviously there's the state income tax, but Cook also might want to play in Miami just because. Didn't he grow up in Miami or excuse me, in Florida? I don't know where exactly he grew up, but he played football at Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. So, there's also that thing to it. A lot of players like to go back and play in Florida if they grew up there. So I don't know. But I'm not super interested. Kareem Hunt, you just mentioned that name, and we talked about this either 2 or 4 weeks ago that straight up, if you're talking the same amount of money, that's even more interesting to me. Now, Eagle said that Cook is 27, he believes. I didn't know that. I was thinking he was probably 28, 29. The fact of the matter is he's kind of slowed down the past year or two, and there's a reason why he was released. And I just don't expect a big resurgence. Like, you could say, now listen, there is some argument for the people who are Cook backers that might make the LaDainian Tomlinson comparison. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, his last couple games in San Diego, he was barely getting carries. And, he was really sad about how things ended there. And he came to the Jets and, at least in some people's eyes, exceeded expectations. But let's not act like LT was the LT of old. I mean, he was very far from that. But he did have some very nice moments with the Jets. So I'll give him that. But, we're not getting – don't expect Dalvin Cook to get back to those, game-breaking numbers that he had. It's just that's not going to be there. So anyway,
yeah. But in a vacuum right now, Kyle, okay, no price and nothing. Are you taking Dalvin Cook next year over Michael Carter? Probably. Taking Dalvin Cook over Zonovan Knight, if you had to right now, probably. Over.
Would you really take
Probably.
Dalvin Cook over Michael Carter? Forget Zonovan Knight for a moment.
Like gun to my head right now to be the backup, would I have more faith in Michael Carter back or Dalvin Cook just being okay? I take Cook over Carter just for next year, but I'm not sure about years to follow. And I'm not even sure, because Michael Carter in his rookie year, I think was better than what you're going to get out of Cook next year. But also with that being said, if Cook is just okay next year, that's a lot better than what Michael Carter put out on film last year. So what Michael Carter are we talking about? That's the problem. So I can see it. If it happens, I'm more on the fence with this one.
He was such a productive player in college, and then he came in and he was very productive as a rookie, despite being on a lackluster offense. And then we said it a gazillion times. I mean, he looked good in week 1. You in your AVT review, you have a nice run of him. You're like, this is the Michael Carter that I saw rookie year. And we've been saying for months now that we assume that it was maybe an injury issue. We have a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, new offensive line coach. I would expect that Michael Carter, he's more likely to have a breakout stud season than Dalvin Cook. Now you could say that maybe Dalvin Cook is more safe.
Yeah, if you phrase it that way, yeah, he's gonna have a break. He's more gonna have a breakout.
But is he safer if he's injured a lot recently? He has some fumbling issues. and he doesn't give you shit in terms of pass protection. Is he safer?
Kyle, again, I know you're talking a lot about the topic, but right now, without any other words, Dalvin Cook or Michael Carter?
Michael Carter. That's my answer.
Interesting. I can see it. I completely do, because if he is what he was year one, then 100% Michael Carter. I'm just not so sure, and that's why I'm straddling on the fence. If they sign him, okay, cool, I'll do a review, and maybe we're much higher on him after that. Maybe we're much lower. I don't know, but because I don't know, it's making me more in the middle. I think I should restart my router or something like that. I don't know if that takes so much time. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes, sometimes it takes 10. So I don't want to do it.
Are you on the right internet connection?
Yeah, I'm on the right internet connection. It just keeps lagging out. I don't know. Will the Jets have an H-back type of player this year? Maybe Rucker. Something that we've been talking about a lot to me, and we talked about what was it, 2 weeks ago, Kyle? We talked about the best camp battles. I talked about Button, and could he make the roster as that H-back fullback type player? I think if Rucker can do it, then he will, because like you guys said in the chat, that will save the roster spot. But if Bawden balls out and he's playing pretty well, I think Bawden has or has the spot, just because it's not necessarily like an ancillary, the right word. Like it's not like more like an ancillary position for this team. Like it's going to be something that's not necessarily their base formation, but they're going to use a fullback at least a decent amount. And if they were going to use it like 2 times a game, okay, Rucker could do it. But if they're going to use it 10, 15 times a game, do you want Rucker to do it? I think Rucker has a chance to prove out in the preseason, et cetera, that he could do it. If not, I think Baldwin's the safer option. And like you said, Kyle, it's been a limited sample size, but when I've seen Baldwin on the field, I've been relatively impressed. You know, I don't see him out of place or anything. Okay, nice block by Baldwin. Okay, nice block by Baldwin. Like nothing flashy, but a pretty solid player. So I think there's a chance that Rucker can do it, and they save a spot. But that may not happen.
Yeah. We'll see. It's an interesting battle, and I think that Bawden does have somewhat of a shot to make the roster. So we'll see.
Yeah. Christian says Lakin has to improve. It's like you're starting from the bottom. He can only get better. Like, is there any way that he's really worse than last year, Kyle? I don't think so.
I don't think so either, because I do think he works hard, and yeah, you're sure he's a year older and whatever, but you know, he's a healthy player, so I don't think he's got like a ton of nagging injuries that would bring him down. So I think, you know, better coaching, better scheme, things like that. You know, I think he'll get better. You can't really have a worse level of play for a should be a savvy veteran. Yeah.
Christian asks, do you think the Jets have a real shot at the Super Bowl? Yeah, of course they do. I don't think it's a better shot than maybe the Eagles or the Chiefs, maybe the Bengals, but I think they're a top 5 to 6 team in the NFL right now. Maybe
the Eagles definitely have the best shot to make the
that.
Super Bowl, just because the NFC is worse.
And
much worse
the team
overall.
You're playing against Brock Purdy. You know, it's not like you're playing, you know, Aaron Rodgers on the Niners. So like, yeah, the Niners are great, but they don't have a quarterback necessarily. So there's only really 2 teams there that I could see. Maybe the Cowboys can sneak in. Like maybe there's, you know, a team.
The Jets' issue is we arguably have the best division in the league, which we're going to talk about more tonight. But I mean, like, Joe, right off the top of your head, is there a better division this year than the AFC East?
Maybe we can argue the AFC North, but that's really about it, you know. So, right?
Yeah.
Is there any
the North is really good. North is really good. I mean, the Steelers always are going to manage to be like, if not over 500, they're going to be right around 500, even if their quarterback is a rookie.
Mike Tomlin's never had a losing record, Kyle. Never. So they're basically going to be 9-8. And even if they are 8-9, okay. But the Browns could easily be, if Watson becomes Watson, it could be an 11-win team. The Ravens could be an 11-win team. The Bengals could be an 11-win team. So they're a stud division too.
I would put top to bottom, just because you know, everyone wants to shit on the Patriots this year, and I'm all for that, and we're going to do that later on. But they still have Belichick, man. They still have Belichick. But overall, I think you'd have to probably give it to the AFC North.
Right now, I know we're not doing it yet, but are the Pats going to finish number 1 in any position group? Coach. They'll get coach. That's about it. So we'll move on.
They will get coached. Although I think that you know, McDermott's a hell of a coach too. I know that people blame him for, you know, his playoff losses and stuff, but also the Dolphins have good coaching too. I mean, if we're including Fangio in that. Are the Pats going to win any position group?
That is serious amount. Okay. Yeah.
Offensive line? Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I'm seeing a lot from Eve G. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about getting competent backup quarterback. I don't think people realize the money already dedicated to the position. I doubt it happens. Sure, but like Mahomes is making $50 million a year or whatever it was a couple of years ago, and they had Chase Daniel. It's not like you can't pay a backup quarterback. It's, how much is Teddy Two Gloves going to cost you right now, Kyle? $2.5 million, $3 million, $4 million? It's like, sure, but I also don't think we're not signing Carson Wentz to a $10 million contract right now. Like, we're trying to sign Nick Foles for $3 million. So sure, but I don't know. Like,
I don't think you get Teddy Two Gloves for $3 million. I think that boy gets at least $5 million.
Yeah, I'll take $5 million. That's fine too.
Because immediately he's one of the best backups in the league automatically. He's not signing for $3 million.
LT, one of the better running backs of our entire lives, Kyle, had more talent than Dalvin Cook. I agree. LT is
no argument there.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Dalvin Cook is not. He had he still has a record for the most touchdowns.
31 touchdowns in a year.
31?
What was that, 2006 season, I believe?
Was it that early? Really? Yeah, I guess it was, right? Holy shit.
Well, LT came to us 2010. So, yeah, that was like the peak of his career.
NFC East sent 3 teams to the playoffs last year.
Yeah, but that says something about the conference, though, too.
Oh. Yeah, that's clearly because of the conference. What are the Commanders or whatever their name is going to be? The Giants, were they really a playoff team last year? Like, let's be real here, And then past that, Eagles, okay, great. The Cowboys are the 2 there. Do they even make the playoffs?
The Cowboys?
Do they make the playoffs?
I would say there's a good chance they make the playoffs.
In the AFC, that's what I meant. In the AFC,
in the
I would
AFC.
say no.
Ooh.
Probably not, right? Like I don't know if I'm putting them over the Bengals,
They
the Ravens.
Let's give them credit.
Sure.
Their defense is solid.
Sure,
and they have listen, the offensive line, they just always seem to kind of retool it. I don't know how good that first round pick was last year, but he seemed to be at least like somewhat competent. Hey, listen, I was happy to hear the Zach Martin news, Joe, because maybe Zach Martin doesn't play week 2. That'll be a huge loss for them against us.
Yeah, for sure.
Their offensive line's still solid. I mean, listen, Dak, he was horrible. He was god awful in that playoff game, but I think he's still decently solid. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, but he's not far from 10. You could win with him. And they have some studs at, in receivers. So
yeah, the Giants would be a 7. In the AFC last year, maybe, but there's not a shot the Giants make the playoffs in the AFC this year. So they only really have like 2 teams where the Jets.
I think Dayball's a good coach, man. I wouldn't 100% count them out.
I wouldn't 100% count them out, but I would place a pretty penny that they would not make the play. And then even on top of that, okay, so past that, even you look at the bottom of the divisions, like I'm taking the Pats over the Commanders this year, just based on their history and their coaching and all that stuff. If I had to bet, we're gonna move on though because we have a couple of things. Didn't mean to say the Giants. I said Cowboys. So this is something that's stupid. I could really come up with one word, Kyle, or like 2 words, but the whole Asante Samuel versus Revis thing happened like a week ago, so it's not even on top of anybody's mind right now. He basically came out and said like only production matters. It was something so stupid that it left my mind, but something like, covering or locking guys up doesn't matter, picks do, or something so fucking stupid. So to me, I see a guy who was a pretty good player in his heyday, who was trying to drum up some noise and trying to get some attention.
Yeah, I think he dropped a pick 6 in the Super Bowl that would have beaten the Giants in that first Super Bowl.
He is an idiot. And that's all you have to say. He's an idiot who wants attention. And everybody can get it now because of Twitter. So that's it. That's the end of the story. He's an idiot. Like what else are we gonna do?
Yeah, no, it's so stupid. And like he must have been getting his replies and all that kind of stuff. He must have been mercilessly just been dunked on.
Dude,
I assume. I didn't really.
At a certain point, there's no point of arguing with people. Like I remember I had on my football team, like we had some players. Like remember those fantasy files from way back in the day, Kyle? Like you have like field goal kicker, like the fantasy files. You remember fantasy files?
I have no idea what that is.
It would be like Tony Gonzalez, and he's like standing by drywall. They shoot the ball out of a thing. He punches through the drywall and grabs the ball. You ever seen those?
I think so.
Oh, interesting. But yeah, they would have like a kicker, like kick a bell that's like 200 feet in the air, like 4 times in a row. It's like, okay, like, so again, made up shit. And there's like guys on the whole team like, oh, that's real, bro. Like at a certain point, there's just no point in arguing with people. And Asante Samuel is one of those idiots. So like, let's just not do it. It's just not worth it. But in terms of, and Eagle brought it up right here, Sauce Gardner handled the drama better than Samuel and Revis put together. Gardner has earned a team captain and should be a captain. I agree with that. Sauce has been really, really humble. He didn't go back at guys like, oh, why is there not a love for all of us? Like I talked to Tyree or Woolen last year, like what is this beef about? So you love the way that Sauce handles himself. Should be a captain. And then Eagle further on asked who are going to be the team captains for offense, defense, and special teams, Kyle.
I don't know if they'll give it to Sauce, even though he's definitely deserving. And, he had a good enough, he was a high draft pick, obviously, and he was good enough as a rookie that people respect him, that I don't think people in the locker room would have a problem with him getting it at all. I think people like the way he carries himself. I mean, listen, if he's going to basketball games with an all-time great Hall of Fame quarterback, obviously he's got respect of other teammates. I just don't know that the staff gives out captains to really young guys like that. Quinnen wasn't even a captain until his 4th year or something like that, if that. So I just don't know that it'll happen.
If I had to bet, it's probably Q, Mosley, Hardy, Rodgers, and maybe Dwayne Brown. I could see Dwayne Brown being that guy.
How could you not give it to Dwayne Brown after playing on a messed up shoulder the entire year?
Mm-hmm. So so the whole standalone reason I saw it going on for days. I'm like, dude, this is just so stupid. Like, can we just chalk it up to this guy's an idiot and like not make videos about it? It just who cares? But Asante Samuel says on Twitter. Ask that, Kyle, kind of a chronological order from the events that happened. Again, I'm not sure if this is an actual chronological order, but it's the order I wrote them down. DeAndre Hopkins signed with the Tennessee Titans. He said he was looking for a Super Bowl ready roster with a great quarterback and a great defense. Clearly the Titans are the best of all those worlds, so he got it with them. 2 years, $26 million up to $32 million with incentives. Thoughts on losing out to DeAndre Hopkins? Because my first thought is, okay, $13 million a year. You're talking about Corey Davis and cutting the Davises, Ashley Davis and Corey Davis, and there's DeAndre Hopkins. So what are your thoughts on missing out and not signing him for that price? And I hate when people say that because we're assuming that he would have signed with the Jets for that price. But for the time being, let's assume he would have signed with the Jets for that price.
I would sign up D-Hop for that price. I mean, you're all in this year. Why not? But it didn't happen. I'm just happy that he didn't go to one of our rivals, the Bills, the Chiefs, or the Pats, for that matter, because he was rumored for all 3 of those locations. So, hey, listen, go to the Titans. He's not really going to be a threat. So I wasn't really sad when I saw it, and I didn't seem like it was going to happen anyway. So, but yeah, I would sign him for that price. It'd be interesting to see what his level of production is this year, because he was sitting out in free agency for a while and nobody was willing to trade for him too. And it seems like everyone is higher on the player than the teams are throughout the league. So we'll see if he gets back to, what level is he playing at? Is he going to play at the level that the teams thought he was at, or that some of the fans thought he was at? I'm curious to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing about it too is like thinking about just these type of topics. I do think there's a certain thought process that goes into like, okay, how is he going to affect the locker room type deal? And I think the Jets could look at a guy like that and maybe based on reports, so people are going to kill me after. He's not necessarily the best locker room guy. He's not necessarily the hardest practicer in the world. And maybe the Rodgers coming in or being a big personality and trying to teach a new offense with new players, et cetera, they didn't feel that Hopkins was the right blend with their team, so that's a possibility too. Like they could love the player and be like, I just don't think it's a good fit for what we're trying to build. And that's completely understandable. And I think that stuff goes on behind the scenes probably more than some people realize. So I think it's a possibility as well. But now if you could tell me, hey, freaking Hopkins or the Davises, I'm thinking Hopkins, I would have done it. I'm not sure why the Jets didn't, but if that's the thought process, then I understand it. It's much more understandable.
Yeah. I agree. I don't have anything to add.
Ali says Sauce has to be voted by his peers as captain. How many captains were on last year's team? I only remember one
Is it
Greek guy on the
all?
ball.
Is it all players are voted as captains by the teammates? The coaches have
I
no
don't
say in any of the
know.
captains.
Oh yeah, you're right. So the only three last year. So that's a good call. The Jet 3 captains last year were Zach Wilson, CJ Mosley, and Justin Hardy. Okay, so if
Didn't
we
they
had
have like 5 the year before that or something like that?
I thought we did have 5. That's why I guess I misremember. If you only had to pick 3, Kyle, who would they? It's going to be Mosley. I would say Mosley, Brown, Hardy. If it's only 3, then out of those guys.
Mosley, I think you can give it to. No, you got it. Mosley, Rodgers. Rodgers has to be a captain.
You're right. Yeah, that'd not be a good look to not have a CPAC.
And listen, I understand well, let's give it to a special teams guy, and I guess Hardy's a leader or whatever, but he also gets penalties here and there. I don't see how Quinnen can't also be that third guy. I mean, like, listen, he finally got the bag, 3rd overall pick. He lived up to the hype finally. He's got a brother on the team. I mean, that means something, I guess.
So, Kyle, in some other news, they signed a Dane Cruikshank. He's barely played in the last couple of years. Let me just pull up some of his stuff. Which again, it's not all based on stats, but
he's been in the league for a little while though.
2018, he had 11 tackles. 2019, 10 tackles. 2020, 1 tackle. 2021, he had 43. So he probably saw some spot duty. And then last year, the Bears, he's had 1 tackle. So in the last 3 years, he's had 2 years of only having 1 tackle. So he's the core special team guy and maybe competing for the Jets, 4th safety spot. Do you think he's I'm not going to say a shoo-in because who the hell can say Dane Cruikshank is a shoo-in at 4th safety? But what's his competition there? Do you think he has a chance to make the roster? And apparently there's been some fans from the Titans and the Bears. Oh, that's a good player or whatever. Maybe he is a really good special teams guy, and that's what he's going to be for the Jets. Obviously being the 4th or 5th safety or the 6th wide receiver or the 4th tight end or the 4th running back. You kind of do have to play special teams. So maybe that's why he's here. But any thoughts at all? I've seen the name in passing, but never a guy I was like, sign for the Jets. But safety 4. What's his competition? Does he make it?
I think and again, I don't really know much about the player, but just based on the fact that he's been on rosters and has some experience playing and some special team experience, you'd have to say that he probably has just as good a shot at making the roster as someone like JBC, right? Like, I know you invested a draft pick in JBC, but you have one guy who you've actually seen on the field more. So,
but it's going to be between those 2 guys, right? You'd think it's probably between him, Davis, Cruikshank, or whatever. But Davis, the thing is, it's not only maybe he's better than those guys. Maybe he is a 2% better player. He also carries a $2 million contract, whatever it is, versus $1 million. If he had another $1 million better player than JBC, to me, I still probably think it is JBC, unless he starts on the PUP list or whatever. Because I believe he was like a walking boot or something like that. He's battling some type of injury.
By the way, if we could take a moment, because it seems appropriate, you wanted some updated player review thoughts. I mean, I guess you moved the needle a little bit, kind of like you did with me with Uzama a little bit last year, and you pointed out that by and large his technique is pretty solid on a down-to-down basis.
For who?
JBC.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. Now, with that being said, you obviously watched more film on him than I did, and you clipped all those plays and stuff. There were still examples where he's getting absolutely smoked despite having really good technique, and that's telling.
Yeah,
I think. That's telling, I think. I mean, like, if you have really pretty good technique on a play and you're still getting beat that badly, that's
at the college
that's a serious and in college, it's only going to get worse in the NFL. So I don't know, man. I still don't really like the pick or the player.
Yeah, there's a couple of people who mentioned JBC. They're like, oh yeah, if he pushes the safety, he'll have really great range, like really athletic. It's like, no, he's not. But yeah, so we'll see. I would root for JBC just because he's younger, and if he'd be a good depth safety spot starter, not spot starter, but spot player, really good special teamer. Okay, cool. I'm always going to root for the draft pick. So hopefully JBC wins that job. And in terms of some other the unwarranted love or praise, I guess we can transition to this. Only a couple topics left before we get into our division preview type of deal. Billy Turner's been getting some love, Kyle. Dwayne Brown, who wasn't at practice, I think for personal reasons, reasons. I can start a second team, which could just be an injury thing. I'm not really looking so much into it. And Billy Turner was the starting left tackle. And then obviously from there, Kyle, it's a snowball effect. He was starting at left tackle. That means the Jets love him. That means he may start over Becton at right tackle. All this stuff. For the people who are saying that Billy Turner is going to start at right tackle over Becton, what is your thoughts?
It seems laughable to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
First of all, neither you or I think Billy Turner is as good as a tackle as he is guard. That's number one. Number two, I mean, the Jets signed him kind of like recently, like in like the third or fourth wave of free agency, which shows that he's clearly not a priority. Becton was the 11th overall pick. Becton as a rookie, Becton had a better season than Billy Turner has ever had in any season that he's played in the NFL. Right.
Yeah.
So that right there. And the fact is that the Jets need to see what they have in Becton, and the higher upside is undoubtedly with Becton. Barring injury, Billy Turner's not starting over Becton. Stop it. All right. It's silly to say that. I'm not surprised. Now, I have a question for you or anyone in the chat. If you don't know the answer, who is giving Billy Turner the love? Is it the coaching staff talking him up?
I think it stemmed from an
reporters?
original. I'm pretty sure it was Samini who put out an article. Don't be surprised if you're starting right tackle. I read that. I'm like, okay, click off.
Yeah,
like
Rich.
That's just stupid. So I'm pretty sure it was Samini who started it, but there was a lot of people buying into it. But I think a lot of people buying into it didn't watch.
Rich say this BS about Becton could be traded before week 1?
I believe that was him as well. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I saw that Eagle mentioned something about that in the chat, and I saw somebody commenting on one of Samini's tweets asking about that. And I was like, did Samini say that, or is he speculating about that? I don't think that's going to happen either, because like, what are the Jets going to get? Like, they really want to roll with Billy Turner as the starter, and what are they going to get for Becton that's going to be worth that trade? Who's going to want to take that risk in making that trade with a guy who's missed the past 32 games or whatever?
If they traded Becton to start Billy Turner at right tackle, Kyle, I'd have serious questions about Douglas.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying one move it will make or break you, but one really dumb move like that will, like, again, I'll question everything about him if he was a trade Becton to start Billy Turner. That would be absolutely horrific.
You're supposed to be all in this year, and listen, the upside with Becton is extremely high. The upside with Billy Turner as a tackle at 30-something years of age is not high. I'm sorry, and you know, I know Rodgers likes the guy, but at the end of the day, Rodgers wants to stay upright more, and who gives you a better chance of staying upright? So, I don't see that happening, and in terms of the coaching staff, if they were the ones, showing him love and talking him up, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, he was in Denver with our offensive coordinator, and he was in Green Bay with him. So that's one of the big reasons why they signed him. Aaron Rodgers likes the guy. I'm not surprised. Like, staffs do this. When they move from place to place, they bring players that they're familiar with. Billy Turner can be one of those guys in the classrooms that asks all the right questions, that works his ass off. And as a coach, you love a player like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he is good enough to be the starter over somebody else.
Kyle, can you do me a favor? Would you be able to hold on the stream for like 2 minutes while I reset the Wi-Fi, because we have RJ who's saying it's hard. I see it like click in and out, and it's really bothering me. So if you just hold it down for a minute, I'm going to restart real quick.
I got you. Okay. So let's see. Did we get to this one? Yoshi says, hey, Joe and Kyle, hope you guys are enjoying this summer. Question, which players would you say are potential cut candidates? Should I look through the roster really quick? Off the top of my head, a cut candidate. I'll wait till Joe comes back before I answer that one. Is Zach Wilson making Aaron Rodgers' life a living hell so far in training camp? Haha, yeah, no, definitely not. And you knew that answer, Eagle. Barring health, left tackle Brown, left guard Tomlinson, center Tippmann, right guard AVT, right tackle Becton, book it. Yeah, I would say you can book that as well. I mean, like, what are really the other options here? I think that the only one that's you could argue is questionable is, does Tippmann start week 1 over McGovern? Because I'm not 100% certain about that. But he's definitely got a very good shot too. So, okay, let's see. Do we get any other chats? All right. So why don't you guys, while I pull up the Jets roster, because who knows how long it's going to take for Blewett to come back, why doesn't anybody in the chat tell me any potential cut candidates that, listen, we're talking about surprise cuts here. We're not talking about, a guy who we kind of expect to get cut. All right. So I got the Jets roster open on my phone. And all right, Sauce, Zach, they're not getting cut. Whitehead, Reed, no. Morstead, no. Hardman, no. Boyle, could Boyle get cut? Maybe. But would that really be a surprise? Lazard, Strevler, Garrett, Irv, Charles, Ashton Davis. Would you guys be surprised if Ashton Davis got cut? I wouldn't. So I don't think could be a quality answer. Yes, he knows kills just said Ashton Davis. Eccles. Does Eccles get cut? Probably not. Bam Knight, Michael Carter II, C. James, don't even know who that is. Jay Knapp. Let's see. Conklin. I think that's sarcasm, Eagle. Is Conklin getting cut? I would say that there is less than 1% chance that Conklin gets cut. I mean, like, wasn't he even featured? Like, Robbie Sabo had that gazillion character tweet, and he mentioned Conklin, and it seems like they're featuring Conklin a lot in the offense. And, there was a quote from Conklin where he said something like Aaron Rodgers is making sure that he sits down with people individually and talks to them. And it just seems like Conklin's one of those players who's really kind of invested in the team. Coaching staff likes him and stuff. He played a ton last year. He played more than any other tight end. He's not getting cut. Lakin could get benched, not cut. Yeah, you can't cut Lakin just because of his contract. Let's see. Jets are signing a bunch of camp bodies not named Quan. Yeah, what's up with Quan? We need him back. Bryce Hall. I could see that one. I could see Bryce Hall being cut or potentially traded, maybe. Hall equals the AB. Cornerback. How do you guys feel about Zach being the backup quarterback? Marvin, I don't feel good about that at all. I mean, like, listen, Zach Wilson was a negative starter pretty much in every game last year. Now, some people will say, point to the Steelers game, say he had a decently solid game and brought them back to win that game. But it's like, yeah, but he played badly for the first 3 quarters. I mean, he almost had a potential pick 6 to Minkah Fitzpatrick in the red zone. And, that other interception that he actually did throw to Minkah Fitzpatrick on the sideline, which was it, I can't remember if it was actually ruled an interception. I think he might have gotten bailed out there. And that maybe Minkah's foot was out of bounds or something like that. Like, that was a horrible decision. Like, if you're going to throw the ball away, throw it away. Like, you got the arm talent to throw it away. Like, he just didn't put enough juice on that. And then look at Robbie's tweets. Robbie's, he said Zach Wilson is still making the mental mistakes in practice. Like, he'll follow some of them up with a good throw and stuff, but I don't know that he's ever going to get over some of those mental hurdles. Ashton Davis is a goner unless there are injuries. Yeah, I'd say there's a pretty good chance of that. Who gets wide receiver 6? Brownlee, Cap, or Charles? Brownlee seems to be the name that I hear about most, although I don't really know too much about them. Irv Charles, if I remember correctly, when I went to 2 training camp practices last year, he kind of stood out, and he had a couple catches in the preseason. So, maybe, but I don't know that they're actually going to carry 6 receivers. I don't know about that. Here 3, and he missed a screen pass today, according to Sabo. How can he suck this bad? Oh, I think it means year 3 for Zach Wilson. Yeah, I think it's just kind of one of those things where, you lose confidence. I don't know. I listen, so when I was younger, and I played in 8th grade. It was the first year they had an 8th grade football team for South Plainfield. And I used to be a receiver back then. And we went up to Phillipsburg. And Phillipsburg is a good football program. And it was the first drive of the game for us on offense. And I dropped a touchdown in the end zone. Dropped a touchdown. Oh, Blewett's back. I'll finish my point. And so I dropped a touchdown. And we got our ass kicked in the game. I mean, it wouldn't matter if I caught that touchdown. We still would have lost the game. We ended up losing 42-0 or something like that. And, people were getting on me in the bus ride home, and it was a long bus ride home. Like, oh, man, if you caught that touchdown, we could have maybe made a run. No, we wouldn't have made a run. We still would have gotten our ass kicked. But, yeah, we would have at least scored a touchdown. But that, me dropping the touchdown pass and the people, kind of, saying mean things. Like, I let those comments get into my head. And I'm not saying I had good hands or anything like that before that, because I certainly didn't, but I had some focus drops and concentration drops due to lack of confidence. And I was never really a good receiver after that. I ended up moving, and I eventually was tight end. And then I moved to left tackle, and my best position was defensive end. But the point of me bringing up this stupid story is to tell you that confidence in sports is a real thing. And, I lost mine in terms of catching footballs, and Zach Wilson, in terms of throwing the football and playing quarterback, clearly does not have a lot of confidence or swagger. And I don't know that he'll ever get it back.
I came across, and my connection should be a little bit better now. But I came across a tweet. I was looking up like my Garrett Wilson like thread or whatever it was on Twitter. So I typed in like my username and Wilson. And my first tweet that came up was, I guess I was probably just pissed at Zach Wilson last year, but I'm like, I said something to the effect of Zach Wilson can't hit passes I see people hit 15 beers deep in the parking lot at MetLife. I got 1,000 something likes. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm just but yeah, he sucks. But Kyle, let's move on. Sorry for the delay. Again, I don't know what's on. It seems a little bit better. I'm not sure. So we talk. Okay, I think we have 2 more topics to hit before we get to the actual division stuff. But another smaller thing before we get to the biggest thing. Denzel Mims. It's over.
What did they get for him? I just saw it was a trade, but I didn't see the compensation. Is it like a conditional 7th?
Yeah. So it's a conditional. So if he makes the roster for the Lions this year, we trade our 7th in 2025 and get their 6th. So we move up 1 round for Denzel Mims if he even makes a team. So we got something. It's not nothing.
It's better than
we don't have to talk about. We don't have to talk about food poisoning. We don't have to talk about a big catch in the Carolina game that he did such an amazing thing. That one play, 40 yards. If he played 60 reps, he would have 1,080 yards in just this one game. It's just like so. Some of the arguments for Mims were so stupid. It honestly seemed like the guy came in. He had a good rookie year. He expected to be like praised after his first year. They brought in competition. He pouted that he had competition. He then lost his confidence, like Kyle was saying, started overthinking shit, came into games, false start, aligning improperly. His route started getting worse. His hands started getting worse. And he started overthinking things. And I don't know if it was that and the fact that maybe he's a little bit lazy in terms of practice. We also heard guys like Connor Hughes came out and said.
I think Blewett is having the internet connectivity issues again. But he's
okay.
Sorry,
no,
Joe.
But so they would fly through it, and then Mims would go and be like lackadaisical. So did Mims just not give a shit? Like, no, those are the things that we're not privy to. I watched him at Baylor. I thought he was a good player. I'll never be able to get into Mims' mindset, how much he studied, how he took it in the meeting rooms, all this stuff. So it seems like Mims, and again, this is a claim that has not much base in fact. But to me, based on my character reading, what I heard and what I read over the last 3 years of Mims, it seemed like Mims was not the hardest worker who pouted when he had to work for his spot. And that just is what it is. I think that's what happened legitimately. I know a lot of questions and a lot of stuff, how he's so good to so bad. I think he pouted that they brought in this guy, that guy. And then it got into his head. And then I don't think he grinded to earn his spot back. I just don't think the coaching staff ever saw it.
And I'm sorry, you don't want players like that on your team. Like, players like that don't win you championships. I mean, period. They don't. They don't push other players in practice to get better. They don't. When the going gets tough and it's crunch time, it's game time. It's like, hey, it's all or nothing right now. They don't pick their level of play up. They might even play lower or crumble in a big moment in a big spot. You don't want players like that on your team. I mean, like, he's a guy who is a superb athlete. Just look at his testing numbers at the combine. And that's how I think he made it to this level. But much like Zach Wilson, a lot of it, I think, is a mindset thing. And, I'm sorry. I don't feel sad. I like the player. I like some of the things he did in college. You can clearly see the talent. I did not think he was Stephen Hill 2.0. I think he's got much more, maybe not much more, but I think he's got overall definitely more talent than Stephen Hill. And he was a more polished receiver coming out of college than Stephen Hill, undoubtedly. But the mindset, I think, is really what held Denzel Mims back.
Now, Jamel says I would have done the same thing. I don't know what that means. If you're talking about they brought in more competition, so you sulked and didn't get into the playbook and weren't trying hard in practice, then okay, sure. I don't. Okay. That's not a good mindset, but hey, it is what it is. So Kyle, the next topic before we get into, I think this stuff is the jersey I'm wearing, number 95. I believe, I don't know. So we got, it's a 4-year extension, $98 million or $96 million, $24 million a year. I said around 20, 24, 25, 26. When I said that, I don't remember if you said you thought it was going to be lower or much higher than that. But I think you said it wouldn't be around.
I thought he'd get around 25, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah.
And I did say that I thought he would get more than all of the other defensive tackles, including Dexter Lawrence, just because of the fact that he was a higher pick in the same exact draft as Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm still cutting out. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what it is today. Usually it's not a problem, but it just is what it is. I'm gonna deal with it. With Q, obviously he's gonna get the next highest contract. I'm completely okay at $25 or $24 million a year. The contract doesn't kick in until next year. So he's here for the next 5 seasons, right? So we have this year and then the 4 after that. Even after that, you can franchise tag him. So the Jets now have him under control for at least, and even if they want a second,
he gets to be around 30 years old.
Yeah, they can control it for the next 7 years after this contract if they really want to. Now, do they franchise them back to back? Probably not. But even if they franchise them once after this, you're talking.
You don't ever want to franchise
next
a player
6 years
just because it gives you a huge cap hit. And God, what are going to be the interior defensive line franchise tag numbers 5-6 years from now?
Yeah, I'm just saying if they wanted to. But it's obviously great. And actually, I could while we're talking about this, Kyle, I can actually pull up a video of Q that I made.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think I probably should make it where like you can see him on every play and all this stuff. But again, I don't have the time to do all this stuff. So while we're talking about Q, we can just
wait. So say that again. You should probably do what?
Like put arrows or pause it and highlight where he is,
don't
like
worry
all that
about that
stuff you see in highlight films. But nonetheless, it's just
Joe. The people that really care about watching coaches film, they'll find the player. They'll either be able to do it really quickly themselves or they'll have the desire and want to do it. If someone can't take the time to figure out who Quinnen Williams is on a play, do you really care about that person watching it anyway? I mean, come on.
True. For now, just watch the guy who's dominating making tackles. That's who we're watching in the background here. But Kyle, thoughts on the overall contract, thoughts on his ascension, thoughts on what he could be, etc. Overall thoughts about where Q stands with the team. Obviously, came 2 days before training camp kicked off, so good timing. No distractions, no hard knock shit. You're rewarding a guy who obviously Joe Douglas didn't draft, but McCagnon drafted, a player who we both absolutely loved coming out of Alabama, a guy who has only improved in every year. He's been with the Jets, and a guy who I only think is going to continue to ascend. A truly dominant player who I think only truly has a few weaknesses that are fixable. And I think if he does fix those things, and he plays with more consistency in terms of leverage and things like that, I think he could become the best instead of one of the best. But so I'm excited about it. Again, dominant player, great human. So I'm really, really pumped to have Q back for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I saw PFF has been putting out these things like 3 players you'd want to build around. And it's like, I didn't even need to see what their list was for the Jets. And that was immediately like a name that came to mind. And there's many reasons for that. Like you said, he's a good kid. He's young, comes from a good football program. He's worked and gotten better, and he was absolutely dominant last year. So really happy that they got that done. And now that they can focus on, other things and, look forward to competing for a Super Bowl. In terms of thoughts on the contract, I mean, I don't really think I had too many thoughts other than that's kind of where I expected him to be around, and he earned it. He deserves it. Some people might be looking, Giants fans must be looking at this and saying, yeah, this is great. Dexter Lawrence is the better player and we got him for cheaper. And, if I'm a Giants fan, I'm probably thinking the same thing, but it's like I've said so many times when we've done streams, so much of a player's future contract depends on where they were drafted. And that's why Daniel Jones got a pretty big contract, despite the fact that he's been pretty damn bad over the course of the past 4 seasons overall. And Quinnen hasn't been absolutely dominant except in this given season. I know he had dominant moments.
To a certain extent, I agree, Kyle, but I don't think that Q is getting paid more than Lawrence because Q was drafted earlier than Lawrence.
So you think the Q is better than Lawrence, and that's why he got a bigger contract?
I think, like you, that pretty much every single position, whether it be receiver, D tackle, running back, the group of the best 5 or 10 guys always get the next biggest contract. So even if he's not as good as Lawrence, he's going to get the next biggest contract. But even with that, I don't know why you're even saying is Lawrence a better player than Q? Why are you even saying? And obviously, I have to watch.
But here's what I'm telling you, though.
Is he better?
Here's what I'm telling you. There's a reason why Lawrence's contract got done before Q's contract, because Lawrence was drafted after Q. Q knows, oh, I'm the 3rd overall pick. I got to wait to see what these other guys who were drafted behind me get. That's why you saw Daron Payne sign before Lawrence and some of the other guys. There's a reason for that.
Is that always true? Is that always true though?
I'm not saying it's true for the quarterback market. It's kind of a different story. Like, it might only be one given season where a quarterback signs from his draft class signs a big deal. But that's generally how things seem to work. Listen,
yeah, and
don't take my word for it, but everyone across the league, and I know he's a Jets fan.
And Lawrence, and I'm not all a stats guy here, but like Lawrence had 7.5 sacks last year, 2.5 the year before. Why are we saying that Lawrence is a better player than? You kind of said that like not like tongue in cheek. You're kind of like, oh yeah, Lawrence, I might agree that he's a better player. Like,
I didn't even say that he's a better player. I'm saying a lot of people do say that.
They smoking crack. They got some wet on their nose. What are we talking? Q
had double sacks last year. I could tell you this: Lawrence was absolutely dominant in that Vikings playoffs game. And every time I watch him, he is a damn good player. But in terms of as a pure pass rusher, I do think that Quinnen is better. Okay. In the run game, Quinnen is really good. And I think Quinnen is so good at picking his spots and knowing, when to flash his head in a certain gap and when to get out of that gap to reroute when the running back picks a hole. I mean, he's
driving a guy into a gap. Yeah. Yeah.
He's so good with understanding the little nuances of the game and the position. But Lawrence is a big human being. He's got almost like 40, 50 pounds on Quinnen. So, to say that Lawrence is better in the run game, I think you could definitely make that point, but I'm not here to argue that Lawrence is a better player than Quinnen.
No, and obviously I'm reaching pretty heavy here, Kyle, but there's a reason that Q is getting $24 million a year and Woods is getting $4 million, like run something matters, but not really, it does, what I'm saying. But you want to get your team off the field on 3rd down, and Quinnen helped do that many times last year. Q is a better player. Again, he's a better player than Lawrence. I haven't watched all of Lawrence, but I don't think Lawrence is ever going to be like top. I don't know, maybe when Donald retires or whatever. But nonetheless, I like the contract. I'm happy with it. So we're going to already have to kind of do like a lightning round division thing, Kyle. So it's not, we don't have to talk about it forever, but is there any like film reviews you watched recently that you have any thoughts on that you like noted down, or
why don't we not why don't we not talk about that right now so that we have more time for the division stuff, because people like that.
You use Hourlad, right, for
the depth charts? Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to just pull them? Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll pull them up.
Well, you have to write down the. Actually, no, fuck it. I'll write down the scores then. If you bring up the depth charts, I'll do the score sheet.
Okay, this way you could see that it's not as easy as you think it is.
All right, so math.
Yeah, writing down the scores and computing the math while talking and stuff. But
you're talking about the addition part of the math, right? Like addition, subtraction. That's the stuff that you're struggling with the other time. Like the most basic.
It's not, I don't listen. I'm pretty good with mental math and things like that, but you're asking me like, oh, well, this team was. It's like, okay, I also had to think like, well, where did we slot the Patriots in? Are the Patriots definitely 3 here, or are they 2 here? Like, anyway.
Well, no, we're gonna be definitive about it. So, Kyle, the first thing.
Yeah, we are going to be definitive about it.
The first position group that we could talk about, Kayuka Lake Jets fan, throwbackers is your thoughts. Yeah, we already kind of talked about it. I love it. Personally, I wish they can change to it for more than just like 2 games. Personally, I wish it was their jersey the entire year, both the white and green, like throwbacks. Unfortunately, it's not, but I love it. I love what they're doing.
Do you want to start with receivers?
We'll start with quarterback because it's the easiest one. Are we going to get to the Bills? We're going to give it to the Bills.
We'll give it to the Bills. This is the reason why I say we give it to the Bills. Because Josh Allen, his legs are a legit threat. I mean, he's going to give you about 10 rushing touchdowns any given season, and that can't be discounted for the stress that puts on the defense. And he's not just one of these quarterbacks who's like a running quarterback. No, he can actually beat you from the pocket too. He's a complete deal. But as a pure passer, is he better than Rodgers? I don't think so. But his legs, give the Bills a lot more options and stuff, and I think that matters in playoff football and stuff. So we'll give it to the Bills. I think we should have the Jets unquestionably number 2 there.
Yeah.
And number 3
Dolphins
should probably be Tua. Yeah. Dolphins.
Yeah, Tua. Yeah. I think that's the easiest way to start off the conversation because there's really not so much argument. The only thing I can understand would be saying, okay, could Rodgers be better than Allen this year? Sure, he could be. But if you had to pick for this season, you're taking Allen or Rodgers, you get a conversation. But I think it's just better to maybe so we afford ourselves some credibility in the future of like not being,
homers. Two
homers.
Yeah, who are always wearing their green colored glasses, as you like to say. Okay.
So let's do running back next. So we have the Bills 1, Jets 2, Pats or Dolphins 3, Pats 4 for that. The least amount of points you get are the better teams. So let's do the running backs, Kyle. So obviously we know our depth chart. So go with whoever. Yeah, I guess you can.
All right. So I think that the Patriots have a good running back.
Can you pull up the rosters?
Yes, I am going to do that. Give me uno memento. StreamYard. Let's see. Present. Share screen.
There you go.
Yeah. My internet's not quite being like yours, but it is giving me a little bit of a lag. I will say this about this R-Lads website. While I do like and respect and appreciate that they have a depth chart for everybody, I guess it's because of the ads. The site does lag a lot. Okay, here we go. Patriots depth chart. Share. Okay, so so running back, Ramondre Stevenson. He's a stud. I think he's not a complete, game breaker like Breece Hall is, but he is, and he's also good in the receiving game too. He tore us up last year. Now, who do they got? So they used to have Damian Harris, and he was a good solid too, but he's gone.
You scrolled too far down.
Oh, I did.
Oh, my bad. No. Sorry, I thought it'd be at the top. That's my fault. Why is QB at the? That's weird, but okay.
Yeah. Don't ask me. Ask our lads. Okay. So.
Okay.
So they, to me, came to mind as a possible competitor. I am not going to say that the Buffalo Bills are a competitor to be over us in this. The Dolphins is interesting from a depth standpoint at running back. Now they did draft. So Mostert, listen, he's a game changer in terms of he can break a real long one on you. Gaskin's solid for a 7th round pick. Solid, not bad. Now this guy, Devon Achane, I don't know how you pronounce his last name.
Achane. It's Achane.
Achane. Apparently, he's a game breaker and stuff. So I don't know. You could very well make the argument that the Dolphins, in terms of an overall depth perspective, have more than the Jets. But for me personally, I just think that like Breece Hall, we have a superstar. Unquestionably, if he's healthy, he can be a top 5, top 10 running back. Legit in limited time last year was, he was a game changer. I personally had the Jets 1 here.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm completely cool with the Jets at 1. To me, the conversation is, okay, while the Dolphins have better depth than the Pats, I like Stevenson more than any one of their running backs. I think Stevenson's a legitly pretty damn good running back. So I'll throw it to you in terms of who's 2.
I agree with you. We'll go
with Pats or the Dolphins, but I like the Pats.
Let's go 1 Jets, 2 Pats, 3 Dolphins, 4 Bills.
And the Bills have. Do they even have?
They have Cook's brother. Cook's brother.
No,
Singletary's gone.
And, that's what I was going to ask. Singletary went where? Where did he even go?
I don't know. But can you currently see the Bills roster on my screen?
No.
No.
You have to share. You have to share your entire screen for that instead of sharing that individual page.
Let me do that then. All right.
Yeah, it's better. It's better like that. So yeah, the Bills have Cook and did they sign Harris? Who? Didn't somebody sign Harris from the Pats? Maybe it was I forget, but you got to pull up the Bills because past Cook and Singletary is obviously gone. I don't know who is back there this year. Like, did they sign anybody? I don't even really know what they did to the running back room, which is a problem because the Bills in recent years, they've had such a good team overall, but their bugaboo has been they can't run the ball when they want to. They can't run the ball to take pressure off of Josh Allen.
The Bills have Damian Harris now. And Latavius Murray and Nyheim Hines. Okay, so the Bills roster is a little bit better than in terms of running backs than what I thought. But
I thought they had Harris.
James Cook is probably going to be the number 1 there.
Mhm.
I don't know. My
So
brother. I think we should still keep it the way that we had it. Truthfully,
4. Okay, I'm completely cool with that, Kyle. I guess let's stay in the box a little bit here. Let's do tight end.
okay.
Obviously,
Right now.
this is a spot that it's gonna be interesting. I don't think anybody's really. The Bills probably are 1, right? With
That's what I
Knox
had.
and whoever they
Kincaid.
and whoever.
Kincaid, first round pick.
I didn't do any rankings or any pre stuff here. The Dolphins don't really have much of anything, right? They got rid of Gesicki. The Pats have Henry. Do they still even have Jonnu Smith? I forget. So if you can bring up the Pats, so it's Henry. Henry Gesicki. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see what this is what I wrote down. I said that
Bills 1.
Bills 1. And I have the Patriots over the Jets, and I have the Jets over the Dolphins. So my personal was Bills 1, Patriots 2, Jets 3, Dolphins 4.
You take, and obviously there's more players than this, but you take Henry and Gesicki over Conklin and Uzama / Rucker as well. I think you have to count Rucker because he's a 3rd round pick in there.
I don't like Gesicki. He can't block for crap.
He's a receiver.
Henry. Yeah, and Henry gets banged up a lot, but I mean, for whatever reason, if we're not going to count Gesicki as a tight end, if we're going to count him as a receiver, then I have no problem ranking the Jets over them. But I mean, he is listed as a tight end.
Can we give the Jets the dub here? Because for me, Gesicki's not even he's a tight end, but not even really. He's not really. And even with that,
to your point, he did argue with the whole franchise tag thing that I want to be tagged as a receiver, not as a tight end. So, and
it's not even that, and it's the fact that Henry's been banged up, and what has Henry done in the last couple of years? To me, Conklin versus Henry, it's Conklin all day, and then Gesicki versus the combination of Uzama and Rucker. Okay, even if you don't count Rucker, yeah, obviously Gesicki is a much better receiving tight end than Uzama, but Uzama is more well-rounded. It's is he that much better overall than
do
Uzama?
Jets too.
So I'm gonna give the Jets just because I think Conklin is so much better than Henry in terms of a receiving tight end. I think Conklin again could have 700 yards this year, and I wouldn't blink twice about it. So, we have the Bills 1, Jets 2, Pats 3, Dolphins 4.
For tight end.
They got that guy I liked last year from Notre Dame, that tight end. The hell's his name? I forget.
You talking about the Dolphins?
The Dolphins, yeah.
Well, here's their roster. You talking about Tyler Kroft?
No, it was. So maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't them. It's a different team. Yeah, I'm Tyler Kroft. No, it's not. It's definitely not Tyler Kroft that I'm liking a lot from there. But we'll move on. Kyle,
you can see the correct roster,
I can see that.
Right? It's I'm
the
switching
Dolphins.
between okay, cool.
Yeah,
all right, so we did running back, we did quarterback, we did tight end. What are we doing next? Offensive line?
Why do you have 29,000 things in your inbox, Kyle, and your Gmail right there? That's my real question.
You open every email that you get?
Oh, yeah, I delete them. If I don't open them and they're trash, I delete them. I can't have that shit. I can't.
Okay, well, it takes time to delete them. I don't, I'm not clicking that extra.
That would drive me crazy. Nonetheless, receiver. I think the Dolphins are an easy one, right? You have Tyreek, you have Waddle. They're both ones. They're the best receiving core in the division, correct?
Correct.
To me, I'm putting them as the 1. I'm putting the Jets as the 2, the Bills as the 3, and the Pats as 4. Are you chalk with that?
That's actually exactly what I have. Yes.
Okay. And I know last year we were arguing about.
I think Gabe Davis. I even said Gabe Davis was overrated last year, and his entire season last year showed that he's overrated. And really, who's the Bills' third option anyway?
For the Bill, they got rid of what was his name? Isaiah Hodgins or some shit.
Yeah,
they got rid of Isaiah Hodgins, right? So now they're rocking with Gabe
Deontay
Davis,
Hardy,
Diggs, Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy. Yeah, no. Okay, so yeah. Bills at 3, Pats easy 4, right? Did the Pats even pay? Or Jacoby Myers went to the Raiders, right?
They did give Devontae a new contract. Yeah, Jacoby went to the Raiders.
Parker and
Kendrick
Juju.
Bourne still, Tyquan Thornton. Yeah, we're not looking at. We're not scared of this pass.
Is that the
Juju? They got Juju, Joe.
Is that the worst receiving group in the NFL right now? It might be.
I can't
Can you
think
think of any worse off the top of your head? Like even the Bears have
No,
some guys
but
now. Like there's none.
true. That's a good point.
Maybe the Cardinals because they only have Hollywood now. Like their receiving core is trash. The Pats. So we got quarterback, we got running back, we got tight end. Let's do the line, Kyle. I think
Come on.
that's
Juju had a Super Bowl winning catch, Joe, and get some good TikToks. All right, offensive line. So
he has terrible TikTok. This is the hardest one, right?
This one was tough. Okay, so I think okay. So I think when I was doing this, I was thinking about this a little bit yesterday. The Patriots, let's start with their roster. Okay. So Trent Brown, left tackle, he's pretty solid, right? He didn't do so good with the Raiders, but he's been solid in both his 10 years with the Pats. Cole Strange was kind of awful last year. Quinnen beat the shit out of him in both games. David Andrews is solid at center.
Solid, yeah.
This guy Owenu, I think it's just pronounced Wenu. He's been a very good 6th-round pick for them. And Riley Reef, and look, dude, Connor McDermott, right tackle is really the hole for the Patriots.
So
now Cole Strange,
right guard.
he's a first-round pick.
Guard. With how you rank Owenu, is he solid for a 6th-round pick, and that's what he is, or is he solid at starter? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he solid relative to expectations, or is he actually solid for a center in your eyes, or for a starter in your eyes?
Whenever I've watched the 4 games, whatever that he's played against the Jets, I've always thought he was pretty solid there. He's a massive human being. He can move people. He's also played tackle too, and done pretty well there. And for what it's worth, he seems to always grade well for PFF. So again,
for their line, we have from left to right, we have solid, bad, solid.
But the thing about Strange is he's a 1st-round pick, so there's a lot of potential room for improvement there.
Okay, so solid, question mark, solid, terrible is what we have for them, right? So, and then the Jets, we have kind of like okay, question mark, okay, all pro, but a question mark and question mark. So we have a bunch of questions. So the Jets could legitimately, and Nani did an article on it a couple of weeks ago or whenever it was, they could have a line, if everybody's healthy, everything works out fine, they could have a line that's ranked 10th in the league. Wouldn't go crazy about it. They can have injuries and be ranked 26th, and I wouldn't lose sleep with them being the 26th overall.
We wouldn't be surprised. We wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Surprised. So they're very hard to quantify. But we know their lineup, so we can move past them. Who would be contention for number 2, Kyle? Pat. So I know you said that Pat.
I don't think it's the Dolphins. I mean, like, all right, Armstead, he's pretty good, but he's definitely older. Eichenberg is awful. Connor Williams, I guess, was an okay signing. Robert Hunt he's okay, and Austin Jackson is awful.
Terrible. So we're putting the Jets above the Dolphins at the minimum, right? Dolphins are below the Jets.
And the Bills' offensive line, listen, I think at this point in his career, Dawkins is the only plus starter. Morse was a good signing for them. He never stays healthy. He never played 16 games at all in his career. He always missed about 4 or 5 games a year. And even when he played last year, he was down. Ryan Bates, Spencer Brown. I don't think any of these guys are plus starters. Dawkins is the only one who's a plus starter. And if we're being honest, Joe, Mekhi Becton does have a higher upside than Deion Dawkins. Right?
That, and we also have an ABT who could legitimately be one of the better guards in the league next year if he plays the entire season. So I'm
very comfortable saying Jets over Bills and over Dolphins.
Yeah. Okay, so we're doing Pats 1, Jets 2, Dolphins 4, Bills 3. Bills over Dolphins there? I would say Bills over Dolphins.
No, I think they're a little bit. No, I think Dolphins over Bills. Truthfully,
really?
Like I think, just because Armstead could be like a Pro Bowl type
I don't
guy.
like Eichenberg and Jackson.
Eichenberg and Jackson are 2 awful picks for them.
Awful.
But Robert Hunt's not a bad player, man. He can move.
But what does Connor Williams do?
He's not bad. He was a solid signing for them. He did well in Dallas. He was solid with the Dolphins last year. And Hunt, 2nd round pick. This guy moves people, man.
Listen, AFC East, bro. I will refer to you on this one. We'll give it to you. The Dolphins are 3. I'm okay with that. I'm really
Joe,
okay.
and Joe, come on, Joe. Cedric Ogbuehi, he too. Come on.
Now, with the Jets at 2, do you think there's any bias to us there? Because like I'm starting to feel like, okay, the Jets are 2-1, 2-2-2. Like, are we being biased with the Jets over the Dolphins as the
Well, we
second best?
purposely made sure to say, okay, we're not going to put Rodgers over Allen. All right. Even though Allen had a down year, and the prior 2 years, Aaron Rodgers was MVP. So, I mean, like, we're being realistic there. Let's see. I mean, like, running backs, where are we being unfair? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're being a little cautious, truthfully.
I think with the Jets, like the offensive line, like, it can be really bad, but even just the median of, okay, it could be either 10 or they'd be 26. The median of like 18, whatever, I think is better than a lot of these teams. Like, it's not like that we're facing a studded offensive line division here. Like,
you can make the argument easily. I think you could easily make the argument that from an upside perspective, the Jets have the highest upside of any of these offensive lines.
Oh, dude, if Becton's healthy, ABT's healthy, Brown State, like, yeah.
Let's say Joe Tippmann is a stud of a second-round pick. Let's say he's got a
and even if not,
type impact.
McGovern's okay, right? Like, if we're just healthy, Brown's right, just okay. McGovern's okay. ABT healthy, Pro Bowl minimum. Becton healthy, at least okay. Like, yeah, you're talking about a good offensive line for healthy, like legitimately good. So I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay with 2 there. Moving from the offense, we don't have anything else, right? We got quarterback, running back, tight end, receiver, O-line. I'm not missing anything.
I don't think missing anything.
We'll go to the next line, Kyle, which I know we had. I think I didn't, not necessarily phrase it right. I just wasn't thinking. I think the Dolphins have a very, very, very good defensive line as well. I think the Jets are still just a tick better in terms of the top-notch talent.
No, I'm going to disagree with you.
You think the Dolphins have a better defensive line than the Jets?
Overall, yes. And let's go to your argument before, Mr. With Dexter Lawrence versus Quinnen Williams. You said, okay, well, run stopping matters, but pass rushing is really where you make the bucks. Who's got a better pass rushing unit right now? The Jets or the Dolphins? I don't see how you say the Jets.
Yeah, it's just like Christian Wilkins is a good player, but Quinnen Williams is better, right?
Definitely. No argument there.
Roquan Davis, is he so much better than like an Al Wood?
No, forget. I can't say anything about Roquan Davis. I mean,
okay.
Listen, so I'm mostly impressed with the edge talent here. You got Jalen Phillips, right?
And
you have
Chubb.
Agba, and you have where the hell is he?
Chubb.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. And the Jets have
we've seen more from Jalen Phillips, both as a rookie and as a second-year player, than we've seen from Jermaine Johnson. All right.
Well, what about JFM?
JFM is a very good player. Now listen, JFM, I would take him over a guy like Zach Sealer, but Zach Sealer is a good player, man. I'm impressed every time I watch this guy.
Okay.
So he plays a similar type role in this kind of guy that you can slide all up and down the D line as to JFM. Okay. And I would take JFM over him, but I don't think the gap is that big.
Okay. And then what about is the gap between any of those guys and Lawson big as well? Because Lawson, we're expecting, and again, not trying to be biased here, but I think we both, and us and every other Jets fan,
you would not take Lawson over Phillips or Chubb.
No, I wouldn't. I'm saying he's up there. Like, it's not such a drastic difference between those guys. And then past that, you have Huff, who was one of the better rushers in limited snaps. You have Jermaine Johnson, who at minimum was a solid edge setter and an okay pass rusher. You have Will McDonald, another first-round pick on the edge. And then you have guys like Clemens. Like, they have talent.
I think the Jets' depth is overall better.
I think the Jets' depth is better. I think the Dolphins' middle is better, but I also think the Jets have Quinnen Williams and the Dolphins don't. So I think.
What do you mean? You think the Jets' middle is better?
No, I'm saying
the Dolphins' middle is better.
Middle. Like, if you're talking about, like, okay, Chubb versus, Carl Lawson. Like,
okay, I
like,
understand. I understand what you're saying.
But like, our 1-for-1, I think our 1 is better. Like, if we're talking about their 1 being Christian Wilkins, our 1 is better. And then we have a fuck ton of depth. Like, I listen, I like Agba.
The Bills'
I
depth
like
is
a lot of their
insane,
guys. Too. Yeah, insane too. But just, I think if Quinnen Williams was what he was in year 3 and year 4, like, probably give it to the Dolphins. But considering Quinnen Williams is probably going to be the second or third best defensive tackle in the league this year, where I don't think the Dolphins have that, I just think I think Quinnen Williams puts us over the top with the Dolphins, where they don't have a superstar on their D line. We have
And Christian Wilkins is kind of, he's in a way, he's kind of a one-dimensional player. He does not give you a ton as a pass rusher. He's a great run stuffer though. So I'm curious to see what the chat is saying here.
I don't think they're saying anything.
Supposedly all of Kyle's D-line expert credibility out of the window. Sad day. The Jets have the best player and better depth. So Jets over Dolphins. Hey, listen, I mean, I'm kind of being convinced a little bit because of the depth thing and stuff, but I was just kind of thinking about it in terms of the edge rushers, man. Like, Carl Lawson, Joe, you were not super impressed with him last year. The whole Achilles thing. Jermaine Johnson didn't impress us as a pass rusher last year.
But you're skipping over JFM. Like, why is JFM not being in this? Why is he not in this group?
I don't consider JFM an edge rusher. I'm sorry, Joe. I don't think you do either.
So let's throw JFM to D tackle. If he's a D tackle, and we're talking about Q and JFM versus Wilkins and Davis, we blow them out of the water there. And then you're looking at Phillips and Chubb.
I'm telling you, Zach Sealer is a similar player to JFM. He gives you less. If you put you, I wouldn't trust Zach Sealer as a 5 technique, or God forbid a wide 9 to do as good as JFM. I would not. But in terms of playing as like a 3 technique or a 1 technique and excelling there, he's right up there with JFM.
So
I'm just saying, you got at least two really solid guys that on any given third down, you feel very comfortable rushing the passer in Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. And Agba, listen, he kind of didn't.
I'm not trying to talk too much shit here, and again, this is just stats. In the last 2 years, Bradley Chubb, because of injury and stuff,
he was injured a lot.
Okay, that's part of it. He has 8 sacks in 2 years. Is he such a good player? Are we sure? Yeah, when he's on the field, great. But how often he's on the field?
All right. Well, hey, listen. If you want to put the Jets over them, I'm not going to argue anymore. That's fine.
I'm not. It's not like I'm just I'm trying to win. But it's Chubb is great, but he's even when the Jets were talking about trading for him, all this stuff, I was like, dude, he's injured a lot. So is he going to be?
I know, and they gave up a first-round pick, and that seemed honestly was a lot. Did he deserve to be traded for a first-round pick given the injury history? Did seem like a lot, truthfully.
He has 28 sacks in 5 years. He's good, but is he going to push me over the top and saying the Dolphins' edges are so much better than the Jets because they have Bradley Chubb over Lawson? No. So to me, it's Jets 1. I think the Dolphins are 2, but I really do.
They don't have a wild card specialist like Huff. Huff is that wild card, Joker ace up the sleeve, and
he was one of the best aces in the sleeve last year. And again, we have a superstar defensive lineman where they don't, and we have better depth. So
put the Jets over them. All right, now here's the question: we're not going to put the Patriots over the Jets. But let's look at the Bills in terms of
we
Jets.
have the Dolphins at 2, right? Obviously here.
Well, hold on a moment. Let's think about this before we do that. All right. So the Bills have Rousseau, who's a freak of an athlete, really big, really long, and he's getting better. Who cares about Shaq Lawson? All right. Ed Oliver. There's no doubt that he's not nearly the player that Quinnen Williams is, but he's solid. Von Miller. All right. Leonard Floyd. AJ Epinesa, Jordan Phillips, who's done some nice things with
even Boogie
Basham.
Yeah.
So in any world, are we putting the Bills over the Jets?
No, I'm not. No way. They have really good depth too, Kyle.
And is any of this because Von Miller's coming off an ACL injury?
It's the fact that Von Miller's older. He's coming off with an ACL, and you're talking about Q versus Von Miller in terms of their top end talent. It's not even close to me. The Bills are solid, but they don't have studs like the Jets have.
Yeah, but they do have really good depth. Okay, so really let's do. Okay, we could do Jets 1, Dolphins 2, Bills 3, Patriots 4. And listen, even the Patriots D line is not that bad, and Judon is a pretty damn good player. So
yeah,
sorry if any Patriots fans are watching this. I feel like we're shitting on you now. It's just,
No, but like, dude,
I think the AFC East has very good D lines.
The Bills having AJ Epinesa, Phillips, and Boogie Basham as their third string guys in some rotations is like ridiculous. But they're top end talent. Like Ed Oliver's not even close to the player that Q is. Von Miller is still good, but like how good? I don't know. So let's do. Larry says, although this discussion is good, a better discussion is the Jets O-line versus the defensive fronts. We'll get to that when the Jets play them. We're just trying to stack them in the division. But nonetheless, we probably have and I think
you want to do linebackers now?
That's perfect. Swolsey just says that the AFC East has the best D-line in the league. That's for sure. Yeah, I think they just stack up our best position group as a division. The defensive line, we're fucking pretty dominant.
I think a lot of teams have good D-lines, but yeah, the AFC East is definitely really good. It'd be hard pressed to find a better division.
The AFC East has really good, I would just say defense in general, but like defensive lines, secondaries, receiver rooms. Like if you're building a superstar team, imagine 10 personnel with Diggs, Waddle, Hill, and Garrett Wilson. Like, holy shit, we got some talent here. But
do you want to do linebacker now?
Yeah, we'll move on to linebacker. That's like the next position behind it. So we'll do linebackers. I don't know how high the Jets are going to finish in this one, but for the Bills,
I think the Jets. I would take the Jets linebackers over the Patriots. I have no problem saying that. I mean, like, let's look at the Patriots linebackers. Judon is not a linebacker. I don't care what that says.
No, he's a
Jawan Bentley. Like, he'll impress you some plays. Like he's a bit of a thumper, but there's no way you're saying he's better than C.J. Mosley, Chris Board, Jelani Tavai. I mean, like, I have no problem putting Jets over the Patriots.
Okay, so Jets over Pats. Now,
okay. What about Miami?
Let's move to the next
one. I struggled with this one a little bit. Jerome Baker is a pretty solid player at linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have a problem. I know the All-Pro voting. I know that C.J. Mosley was an All-Pro. Jerome Baker wasn't. I'm not convinced that Mosley at this point in his career is better than Jerome Baker. And then, like, okay, so I don't know much about Duke Riley, truthfully. David Long, Channing Tindall.
I know David Long had a really good year last year, right? And people were surprised he actually signed as little as he did with the Dolphins. I believe, to my knowledge, and based on like what's been saying on
and
Twitter
listen, we like some things about Quincy, but we're not the hugest fans of Quincy. So like, and then who do you have after that? So Quincy's not going to like really move the needle for me too much here either. So I
by the way, Kyle, it's like people are like, it's like breaking news now that Sherwood might be the third linebacker. It's like he's been the third linebacker since the day that the season ended. Like he was the fourth linebacker. Quan's on here as the third. So yeah, shit, he's the third. Like, why are we shocked that Sherwood's the next guy up right now? But nonetheless.
So what I wrote yesterday when I was thinking about this was, I won't say Mosley's better than Baker, but Quincy seems to be better than the Dolphins' second option. I mean, like maybe. I don't.
Okay, so let's stack them before we even do it. So we have the Pats at 4, right? What about the Bills, though? Because we have Milano.
All right, so let's go to the Bills. Now, look, they lost Edmonds. He signed a huge gargantuan contract with the Chicago Bears. But Milano is the best linebacker in the division. I don't give a shit what the All-Pro voting says. That guy is an absolute stud, man.
He's good. Yeah, he's really good. I have no problem with you saying that. He's better than Mosley.
Okay. So... And they got, AJ Klein. And
so then past that, Terrell Bernard versus Quincy Williams.
I'm putting the Bills one, and it's really just the Bills because of Milano. Okay. So
I'm
Bills one.
Okay with that.
Do you want to put Jets 2, Dolphins 3, Pats 4? That seems to be the most realistic thing.
You think so? So we're talking basically, and depth is kind of hard, but we're talking about the Jets with Mosley and Williams, with the Dolphins with Baker and what's the other guy's name? Baker and
you talk about David Long.
David Long.
So he came from Tennessee. I can't say anything about the player. Truthfully, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Like, let's keep this in the back of our minds. I'll give the Jets 2, but if they're different by like a point or two, I think it's something we should note. And this is really just respect to like C.J. Mosley, that he's been around longer and doing it a little bit longer. So like, give him some props. Actually, fuck it. Let's not be biased here at all, and just give the Dolphins. Let's just give it to the Dolphins.
We'll give it to the Dolphins,
and then we'll see if it's a point difference. Yeah. Like, okay,
people can't say that we're being that biased. I mean, we're trying not to be.
We'll give it to the Dolphins because we took tight end away or tight end away from the Pats before. Whatever, fuck it. So let's say the Jets have 3. I'm okay with that for now.
So you want to go to corners now?
No. We'll move to behind the linebackers. We'll move to safeties. I'm okay with safeties, and the Dolphins, we have Holland and Jones, I think they're comfortably better than the Jets there because Holland is a stud and Brandon Jones he's okay, right? Like he's nothing to write home about, but I'll take that just because Holland's an absolute
I'll
stud.
still put the Bills at 1. Still.
And then you have the Bills with Hyde and Poyer.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm still putting them 1. Dolphins 2.
Okay.
Pats over the Jets. Kyle Duggar.
Hold on. Sorry. We have Bills at 1. We have the Pats or the Dolphins at 2.
Yeah.
Right. And the Pats at 3. The Jets at 4. I'm okay, dude. Listen, at the end of the day, the Jets are the worst there. Like we really don't have much of an argument, right? I guess we can argue over the Pats if we really want to, but let me just make sure I have all of these. Okay, so let me just make sure I'm doing this right. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 position groups you talked about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I think I'm good. I don't want to count this all right now. So safety, that was a pretty quick one, right? The Bills, dude, having Poyer and Hyde, like they're both studs. Holland to me is a Pro Bowl type of player with the Dolphins, and Jones is okay. That's another solid group. And the Pats having Duggar, and who is their starting free safety with the? Perfect.
They got so Duggar
Phillips.
and Peppers are both kind of like strong. Adrian Phillips, yeah. There's no question. Jets are last there, no question.
Yeah, I'm completely cool with that. So now we move to corners, Kyle. I don't think I'm going out on the biggest limb here and saying the Jets easily have the number 1 corner group in the division and maybe probably and in the NFL.
I would not say easily, but I do put them at 1. But let's think about this for a moment. So you've said numerous times over recent weeks and months that Sauce, despite whatever PFF said as the number 1 corner, he might be top 5, top 10 right now, but you didn't think he was 1 last year. So that begs the question, well, who the hell's 1? And one name that pops up could be Jalen Ramsey still.
No.
Okay.
No.
Why? I'm curious.
Ramsey, and again, this is something that I would want to like completely obviously watch and all that stuff, but nonetheless, watching Ramsey in passing, I have not been as impressed recently. And I'm not going to bring up specific examples.
A couple guys, like that. I know Mike Evans beat him a couple times pretty well. I still think he's a good player. I don't think I would not take
He also got roasted in this. Was that him? He got roasted in the Super Bowl by Chase and then he got sacked by Von Miller, so it didn't matter. Like Ramsey's good, but he got
sacked by Aaron Donald, 99, who was maybe offsides on that play.
Exactly. Yeah.
But okay. Xavier Howard is in sharp decline. So I have no problem saying that the Jets are better just because, I don't think I know he's not what he was. This guy Kohu had a solid year last year. Needham's not bad. This other guy, Igbanaye, I know he was a first round pick, but he kind of
Igbanaye, whatever the hell his name is.
We need to look at some film. Really lived up to the hype, huh?
We need to look at some film. We gotta watch film of Robert Hunt and Connor Williams, like Daniel does. I'm sure Daniel watches a ton of Connor Williams film. Continue.
So I think the Dolphins are very good at corner. I don't think the gap is that big as a whole unit versus the Jets, but I think the Jets, 3 studs. And
3 studs in a great depth.
Arguably the best corner in the league who's only going to get better. So Jets 1, Dolphins 2. Who are we putting at 3 there? Are we taking the Bills who still have Trey White?
So we got 1. We got Dolphins 2. The Bills have Trey White, Peron
They
Johnson.
got Kaiir
Elam. Okay.
Christian Benford. I'm trying to remember. I think it wasn't 30.
Now go to the Pats. Go to the Pats.
Okay. Patriots. They got.
That's the Jets.
Oh, my bad.
Fuck, they got Reed? What? How did they get soft?
The Christian Gonzalez, first round draft pick.
Gonzalez.
Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, who had that. Wasn't he the guy who had that punt return for a touchdown against us?
Sean Wade, the guy I always reference as being like a top 10 pick to a 5th round pick, how quickly things can change. What are you feeling
I'll put the Patriots 4, Bills 3. Trey White is still a good player.
Okay.
And Kaiir Elam showed some things. There's still room for improvement with him.
So now with this, Kyle, The only problem with this is this is where I want to quantify it more with how, not quantify it, but more value into certain position groups and things like that. Do we want to do? I think I think coaching in general should be one, right? That matters enough.
Absolutely.
So
I wrote it down as one, and special teams should be a thing as well. Maybe not three, not like kicker, punt, no, but special team as a whole unit, that should also be something.
Okay, so coaching: Pats 1, Bills 2, Dolphins 3, Jets 4.
That's what I have. That's what I have.
Okay. And I'm not. This isn't me saying that McDaniel's definitely a better coach than Saleh or anything like that, but because we gave the Jets the benefit of the doubt in another spot or two, or at least another spot.
McDaniel showed that he was a better coach last year. His quarterback went down at various points in time. He coached Tua. Tua was not very good before McDaniel got there, so he coached him up. I think I have no problem saying McDaniel at this point in time is better than Saleh. Could that change? Yeah, maybe. But then, as a defensive coordinator, Fangio, he's been the real deal for a while.
So for special teams, I'm assuming we're gonna have Pats at 1, right? They always have a really good special teams.
Well, let's look at I wasn't very impressed when I was looking at all right. So they got these rookies as their punter and kicker. Chad Ryland, he could be a bust. I mean, is he going to start over Folk? He's probably going to start over Folk, but that doesn't mean necessarily he's going to be good. He was a 4th-round pick as a kicker. And then they drafted a punter in the 6th round. Well, we know how a punter in the 6th round, that doesn't always work out for you. Didn't work out for us. So we know Morstead's been solid. And Greg the Leg was overall, I guess, pretty solid for us. So can we definitely say that the Patriots and here's another thing I consider too, Brant Boyer as a special teams coach, because we know that coaching matters a lot for special teams. When I wrote my list down, I said I would take the Jets only because the Pats haven't proven themselves yet. So I would say Jets over Pats.
Okay. And I'm cool with that because Morstead is a really good punter. And Greg the Leg is at least okay. He's just an okay kicker. And I think Morstead is one of the better punters. And Boyer has been up and down in terms of his special teams ranks in recent years. But I'm okay with that just because the Bills or the Pats literally have rookies. For the Dolphins, you got
I'm going to take the Jets over the Dolphins. Jason Sanders is not good. The guy misses a lot of kicks in crucial spots.
Okay.
I don't think he's good. And literally, they let their punter, Dolphins fans were upset when they let Morstead go and re-sign with us.
Yeah.
So I would take the Jets over them as well.
Okay. And now the Bills. And then the problem is ranking those 3.
A Dolphins fan might say, well, we got Berrios as a returner.
Good luck.
Who was an all-pro as a returner.
Yep.
All right, and the Bills.
The 4-yard line.
Okay. So I can't really say much about Sam Martin. They were supposed to have Mr. Punt God who had a workout for us. I don't know. I guess he didn't impress that much to the point where we wanted to sign him. Let's see. What did I write for this? I said this was hard for me to decide, but I chose the Jets because of Boyer. Nyheim Hines, I think he's got a lot of gas. So I want to say I've seen him have a couple nice returns.
Didn't he have the return the game right after the whole DeMar Hamlin thing?
I think so, but I can't be
he
sure.
He took a kick to the house the game after, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. Bass is solid as a kicker. I don't know if I could say he's definitely better than Greg the Leg or whatever. I don't know how much we're considering long snapper there, but Hennessy's just as good as any other long snapper. I know Reed Ferguson's solid, but I don't know. I kind of almost want to say the Jets here too.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Would you take any of these special teams units over the Jets? I kind of wouldn't. I mean, maybe last year, if Braden Mann was still our punter, I would say okay. Just
based on name value, I'm not going to say yes. I would take anybody over. But the problem is who are we ranking 2, who are we ranking 3, and who are ranking 4? Because the Jets did just catch a couple of 4s. They got a 4 at safety. They got a 4 at head coach. So a 1 from them here is not. That's okay. So we have the Jets 1. Who is 2 though, Kyle? The Bills. Or the Dolphins.
No, let's put Dolphins last because I hate Jason Sanders. Dolphins last. Let's say Bills 2. Patriots, I'll put them 3 just because, again, it's hard. You got 2 rookies as your kicker and punter, respectively. It's hard for me to say, oh, yeah, we got to slot them in and they're automatically going to be good. Remember, who's that Buccaneers kicker who was drafted in the 2nd round and was just terrible?
Oh, fuck. I listened to a podcast with him. Ngueyu or Robert Ngueyu? Aguayo?
Aguayo. Yeah, Aguayo.
Aguayo. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, do we have any position groups we need to do? No, right?
I don't think so.
I'm
going to stop sharing my screen then.
We have quarterback, running back, tight end, receiver, O-line, D-line, linebacker, safety, corner, head coach, special teams.
Yeah, I think we hit everything. Let me just double check everything I wrote down just to see if we didn't miss anything. Hey, I think we got everything.
Okay, so now you talk in the chat for a minute, and I'm going to do math while I'm in here because I'm not going to try to do it.
All right,
so
really let's go up to the chat and see what people are saying because we neglected it for a little while. All right. Okay, gotcha. Green and not the crappy Kelly green. Yeah, not a lot of people like that much. Joe, are you getting a Rodgers jersey? I think Joe is. I think he's going to get one of those $45 Chinese ones. Stevens,
I'm muting you, by the way. I just heard my name, but I'm muting you for a second so I can concentrate.
Okay. See, I didn't have that luxury last year yet. I got made fun of. All right. Yoshi says Stevenson was annoying last year. Yeah, dude. How many times did we have him dead to rights on like 3rd and 16, 3rd and 19, and he manages to break away from like 3-4 Jets defenders? That was unbelievably annoying. Okay. Mr. Rudy says, first was Favre, now it's Rodgers. Jets going to have an injured QB this year. Hope to God it's not. Rodgers has gotten banged up at various points in his career, but, by and large, he's been pretty healthy throughout his career. But he's not one of these guys like Brady or Manning up until the 1 year where he wasn't healthy, where he's been injured. Like he's, for the most part, always played every game. Bills did. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Lazy comparison, kid. Not sure what that comparison is. The Bills did sign Damian Harris. Oh, yep, you got that, Art. You noticed that before us. Lazy comment, Eagle Fang. Okay, I'm not sure what you guys are arguing about. Henry's the shadow of what he was. Guy was a rising star. Yeah, I remember there was like some mic'd up segment when Henry was still on the Chargers, and Bill Belichick was like talking to him after the game, like, "Oh, you're such a great player. You're such a great player." And everyone was saying, "Oh, this is a forecast. He's eventually going to sign with the Pats once he becomes a free agent." And then lo and behold, he did. Oh, you're listening. You're not. No more mute. Mute's over. Okay.
The math. And then we'll go back to the chat. So, what would be your prediction, Kyle? Who obviously the worst team?
All right. So the Pats are definitely 4.
Okay. Pats are 4 with 33 total points.
Okay.
The next team has 29 points.
Okay.
Which you think would be?
The Bills.
No, not the Bills.
Dolphins?
Yep. Fins are at 29 points. The next team has 27 points.
And you think obviously that.
Nope.
The Jets. Okay.
27 points. The back-to-back force with head coach and safety really, really hurt them. So the ranking went Bills 25, Jets 27, Dolphins 29, Pats 33. So it kind of played out relatively how we'd expect it. Now, if you give the Jets one up on head coach, if you give the Jets one up on maybe like linebacker, it's arguable. If you give the Jets one up on the Bills, even just the quarterback thing. If you just flip the quarterback thing from Rodgers to Allen, we're even with them. So it's pretty close, but it bared out kind of how I expected. Doing the list and seeing all the 2s and 1s the Jets got at first, I thought it was going to be the Jets, but yeah, Bills at 25 up to 27.
Okay. Well, and I wasn't. I mean, I do think that the Bills, when you look at the roster this year versus last year, I think it's kind of went on the decline. Like everyone was picking them, including myself, to be the Super Bowl favorites last year. But they still have a very good roster top to bottom, and they're certainly a contender for the Super Bowl. So it's not really that shocking. And the Dolphins, one of these teams who's been kind of good every year, but they've always been kind of missing something, and it was quarterback for a while. And then, Tua was getting MVP consideration last year, and maybe they finally nailed it with the head coach. But, the Jets added a Hall of Fame quarterback, and they've improved the roster in many spots. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting football season, Joe. Yeah, you just talk about quarterbacks. That's the game changer. And all those damn years where the Pats dominated the division, for once it'll be nice to see them at the bottom of the barrel. We were expecting that last year, didn't happen, but I really think it's going to happen this year.
Double-digit IQ moderator. what that means.
I think him and Eagle were getting into a fight about something. I'm not sure what though.
I feel like Eagle gets in fights sometimes. All of Kyle's D-line. Okay, yeah, I saw that already. Let's see. Talk about Pfizer shots. I'm not going to bring up that one on the screen. Yeah, in terms of like individual matchup, that's something we'll talk about more when we go against the teams. But how do you quantify? Like, yeah, that'd be a really, really hard discussion in terms of like ranking them in terms of points. But it'd be tough. I would rank the Bills above the Dolphins. I guess for D-line, I don't know about D-line. Hurts to say Finn's linebacker crew better. David Long is good, fast, scrape, Chase Will linebacker, and we put them over the Jets, right? Yeah, we put them over the Jets, but I know Long got a lot of praise. I saw Long got a lot of praise. So we gave them that one. That's completely fine. Kyle Digger is good. Robert, yeah, we got to watch film. Art says he tried to give us a point system. We try to think about that for all of 5 seconds, and we didn't feel like doing it, so we just did it the way that we did it. Maybe just because of the disparity at position of kicker. Legatron was awesome to me. Where did he finish statistically? Is there a way to like look at kicking stat, like ranking?
Here's the thing about Legatron, which kind of reminds me of when we had Nick Folk. He will hit the 56, 57. Yeah. Did he even hit a 58-yarder last year? Like he hit a really long kick last year, but then he'll shank like a 40-something yarder.
I would say like a little bit above 80, like 80% or above is what you want. Like generally when I'm looking at kickers, and last year he was 30 for 37, 81%. The year before that, he was 29 for 35, 82%. The year before that, he was 82%, actually 83%. 2019 had a down year at the Rams at 72. But yeah, no, he's been solid. Like 81.1% field goal kicker is at least decent. So, and we've also, like Swole said, we've been in kicker hell in recent years. So having a decent one, maybe he seems a little bit better than he really is to us. But I don't know. Y'all think it sticks around until Rodgers retires? Yeah. Can you imagine? Rodgers wants to come back next year, and Hackett's like, nah, like we're not going to do that. No, he'll definitely be. He'll definitely be around.
I think if the Jets fired Hackett, Rodgers says, "Fuck it, I'm not coming back." So yeah, they're married to each other, the Jets.
Okay, Kyle. So anything else you want to bring up before we jump on? I know we want to do like the updated film thoughts and stuff like that, which we'll do when we have more time. Next time. But Kyle, I think our next show we have 53-man roster prediction, and that's it. And then we're in the season. I don't know when are you going to start. During the season, you jump on every week, right? When are we going to start doing that again? Maybe we start now, right? Because the next show that you'll be on is going to be after the first preseason game, right? So next week we'll be previewing the preseason game. So I don't know if you want to start jumping on weekly and starting next week, but
maybe. I'll definitely be on in 2 weeks from now. But yeah, count me in for every week during the regular season for sure.
Yes, we'll see you about next week for Kyle. That's it for me. I enjoyed talking to you guys for 2.5 hours. I will fix the internet somehow. Somehow it'll be Kyle coming to my house and running it through my wall for me. So we'll see if that happens. But other than that, nothing else. Kyle, any last words?
Nope, it was fun. See you guys next time.